It's Rob Byrne watching traffic throughout the morning. Zaikan will give you the lowdown and the full details of how it played out in Rabat as far as the AFCON final is concerned, as well as other sporting news. Melissa Puta will complete your picture with the morning brief in brief. And of course, Ntauleng Lechela has your business, economics and the markets covered over the next 3 hours. And Sipho Mantula with your Africa update at about 20 to 7 this morning. In it all, let's have a conversation about these and other matters that may be on your mind throughout the morning. You can call me and let's engage. The number to dial is 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes are on 0614 104 107. This is the morning brief. Context, consequence, and conversation starting now.
This message is brought to you by Eskom, redefining for a better future.
Hey South Africa, want to keep your lights on and save money? Let's use electricity wisely. It's easier than you think. Switch off lights when you leave a room, unplug chargers and appliances, and use energy-saving bulbs. They last longer and use less power. Every little bit helps for your home, your wallet, and our planet.
Let's make it a habit. Use electricity wisely. Eskom.
The best summer experience is at the cricket ground. The Proteas and the Windies are gearing up for the T20 World Cup. This is the first T20 international contest. Be part of it. South Africa versus West Indies on Tuesday, 27 January at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC2 with reports on SABC radio stations. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
All right, let's set off on our journey this morning with Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief. Good morning to you, Melissa. Let's start in Ekurhuleni, perhaps more specifically in Mozambique. Tell me about the search for the MMC of Roads and Transport, Andile Mngwevu, who was in Mozambique.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. So Ekurhuleni MMC for Roads and Transport, Andile Mngwevu, is missing after his vehicle was swept away by floodwaters in Chokwe, southern Mozambique, while he was part of an official delegation. A South African rescue mission team is coordinating with Mozambican authorities to locate him and the other occupants, though their status remains unconfirmed. The city is supporting Mngwevu's family and appealing for privacy during this time. The incident comes amid severe flooding across northeastern South Africa and Mozambique, which has caused multiple deaths, widespread damage, including in the Kruger National Park, and will require significant repair efforts. So this is quite a sad one indeed coming out this weekend. And
the AmaZulu traditional Prime Minister Thulasizwe Simelane, my namesake, seems to be at yet another, at the heart of yet another battle royale within the royal family.
Yes. So Zulu royals are angered by a January 9th memorandum allegedly from Prime Minister Thulasizwe Simelane that centralizes all royal communications and decision-making through King Misuzulu's private office, effectively sidelining other royal family members from advising the king. Royals including Princes Chris and Africa Zulu and Princess Gugu Zulu called the move unprecedented and a threat to their traditional roles. Buthelezi has denied issuing the memo and calling it a fake memorandum. The controversy, of course, unfolds amid ongoing legal disputes over King Misuzulu's recognition, succession, and the powers of the Ingonyama Trust Board, which critiques a warning that the directive could be a strategy to consolidate control over the monarchy. So it will be interesting to see how this unfolds amid the legal battle.
And the contrasts couldn't be sharper in terms of what's happening in our country. The northern and eastern parts of the country dealing with floods, and the Western Cape continuing to deal with conditions of drought as well as these fires. Tell me what the city of Cape Town is saying to residents.
So the city of Cape Town has urged residents to take greater responsibility for fire prevention after recent data showed a 5 to 16% year-on-year increase in vegetation and residential fires over the past 8 weeks. Mayoral Committee member J.P. Smith stressed that reducing fire risks requires proactive action by individuals and communities, not only emergency services. Meanwhile, firefighters are making progress in containing multiple wildfires in the Franschhoek and wider Cape Winelands area, including Lamotte fires, which have burnt more than 17,000 hectares since early January. While no property losses have been reported, vineyards are said to be severely damaged by the fires. Crews continue active firefighting and monitoring amidst challenging weather conditions with support from local authorities, emergency responders, and organizations such as Gift of the Givers. So it is quite concerning, to say the least.
All right, Melissa, thank you for that. Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief this morning.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the weather front, I've got 4 warnings that I must communicate to you from the Weather Service. The first one is a warning of an orange level 5 warning, disruptive rain with heavy downpours leading to flooding of susceptible roads, settlements, low-lying bridges, and risk of life. Is what they say there from the Weather Service. Then there's a yellow level 2 warning that is in place over the eastern and northern parts of Limpopo. It is for disruptive rain with heavy downpours leading to localized flooding of susceptible roads, settlements, low-lying bridges and areas. Major roads affected but can be used. Major roads affected but can be used. Increased travel times, and that, as I said, is over the eastern and northern parts of Limpopo. Then a yellow level 2 warning over the southwestern parts of Limpopo. It is for severe thunderstorms with localized flooding of susceptible roads, low-lying areas and bridges, large amounts of small hail and localized damage to infrastructure due to damaging winds. Lastly, there's a yellow level 1 warning, and it is in place for areas between Alexander Bay and Cape Columbine this morning, and spreading to Cape Point from the afternoon. That yellow level 1 warning is for damaging coastal winds, resulting in difficulty in navigation at sea. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria, cloudy, becoming partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers with a minimum of 17 and a maximum of 26. Johannesburg will be cloudy, becoming partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 16 to 24. Vereeniging, cloudy, becoming partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 16 to 26. Mbombela, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 17 to 24. Bulukwane, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 17 to 24. Mahikeng, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 17 to 31. Bloemfontein will be fine, becoming partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 15 to 33. Kimberley, fine, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon, 15 to 34. Uppington, fine, 17 to 35. Cape Town, fine, 14 to 24. George will be cloudy, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon, 13 to 22. Gqeberha, fine, 14 to 26. East London will be partly cloudy, becoming cloudy, 14 to 25. Durban, cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 17 to 24. Richards Bay will be cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 18 to 25. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will be cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 11 to 22.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
22 minutes after 6. Well, it's been one small step for a space rocket, but one giant leap for humanity's long road back to the moon, more than 50 years after the last astronauts left its surface. NASA's towering space launch system has now rolled onto its launch pad in Florida, a slow, deliberate journey that marks a major turning point in preparations for Artemis 2, the first crewed lunar mission since Apollo 17. The move to launch pad 39B signals that the mission is entering its final stretch, with critical testing and a full wet dress rehearsal now ahead of a launch window which is penciled in as early as February. Let's talk about it all. I'm joined by Professor Lerotodi Leo, who is Professor of Physics and Astronomy at the University of the Western Cape. Good morning to you, Prof, and thank you for your time. Why is the physical move of the SLS rocket to the launch pad, why is it such a significant milestone in the broader scheme of trying to land back on the moon 50 years since Apollo 17?
Great to have me. Thank you. I appreciate that. So the physical move from the vehicle integration assembly building to the pad is really, really important because it means all the important work of actually assembling the space launch, this LSS system is now done, and it's taken years to be able to do that. The next step is really just to integrate the vehicle with the launch pad, and essentially to get it fired. And so it's significant in that way. It's basically all the tests that could possibly be done on the vehicle have been done, besides these very final ones of firing it up.
Would you say Artemis 2 is more of, I suppose, a reconnaissance mission, really, because it will not land on the moon, but it is significant nonetheless for the eventual effort to land back on the moon?
Yes, so there was Artemis 1, and Artemis 1 was an uncrewed mission. No people on board. That was just over a year ago, and now this Artemis 2 has taken lessons from that, and those lessons are how to actually get human beings in orbit around the moon. And then this next phase, as you say, will be how to actually land. So it is a reconnaissance in that way. I mean, there are a lot of unmanned satellites on the moon, around the moon, as we speak. So in terms of possible landing sites and all that, we know quite a lot about the moon. And so the reconnaissance in this case is of the particular vehicles that will do, the landing and then also operating this particular vehicle when it is around the moon.
I suppose it is also significant that Artemis 2, part of what it will do is basically orbit, initially orbiting around the Earth, and then it will travel to the far side of the moon. That description that says the far side of the moon, in terms of the moon's hemispheres, how significant is that? How much do we know about where it will be in terms of its observation of the moon?
Okay. So, and as you rightly point out, it will first orbit around the Earth, and while it's orbiting around the Earth, it will test particular maneuvers of the vehicle. So the actual first tests will be here in a safer environment near Earth, and then it will leave Earth's orbit, get propelled to the moon orbit, and go to that further, place. So at the moon itself, the proposed landing will be at the poles of the moon. So the poles, because we believe the poles are where there's potential water on the moon, because this particular mission and its significance is that human beings are not just going to the moon for a temporary time. It's for the long term. So to be able to actually establish a base there, and eventually use the moon as a launch pad to other planets such as Mars. So this mission, more than just being going back to the moon in 50 years, it's going for much bigger ambitions.
Yeah, all right. I've got to thank you for your time and your insights. Professor Lerotodi Leo, Professor of Physics and Astronomy at the University of the Western Cape. Of course, just to add that in it all, in the end, the ultimate goal is to actually land on the moon. And we are told that the earliest is possibly 2027, but it could even be later than that by realistic estimates.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
It's a very good morning to you. Let's go to Senegal, who are, well, they were shooting for the stars, and they definitely did not only land on the moon, but they clinched AFCON 1-0 in extra time. That was their win over the host Morocco. The final, though, was overshadowed by controversy late in regulation time. Morocco were awarded a penalty deep in stoppage after Brahim Diaz was brought down, sparking a brief Senegalese protest that saw play halted. Now, his audacious Panenka was saved moments after Senegal had a goal ruled out by VAR. Edward Mendy even walking briefly before returning, with Sadio Mane rallying his teammates. Senegal refocus, and there we go. It was Papa Gueye who struck 4 minutes into extra time to seal an unforgettable final in Rabat. Now, the CAF president, Patrice Motsepe, expanded on the decision to cancel the African Nations Championship, the tournament reserved for locally based players. He first confirmed the move during his conference at AFCON in Morocco.
You see, the Chan is a spectacular money loser. You know, the Chan, not the Khan, the Chan. And the first thing I was asked when I became president was, kill the Khan, stop it. And I wasn't going to do that because some of the member associations who do not have the resources and skills, almost 20 of them said, please, keep it in, and that's why we had to allocate resources, and that's why the Chan we had in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda was enormously successful. But I can tell you now, with this African Nations League, it will take the place of, our competitions are going to be reviewed, and I can tell you now, there will not be a Chan. There will be no need for a Chan.
And that's the CAF president, Patrice Motsepe, here on the morning brief. Elsewhere, Aston Villa's title push took a blow after a 1-0 home defeat to Everton, ending their 11-game winning run at Villa Park. Newcastle's Champions League hopes also stuttered, held to a 0-0 draw by bottom-place Wolves. And finally, rugby, the Springbok Women's Sevens crowned HSBC Sevens champions in Dubai, finishing the tournament unbeaten. South Africa edged Argentina 12-5 in the final. That's your sport. We'll have more. That's Tackle More Sport, top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the flood-related death toll in Mpumalanga and Limpopo currently stands at 31. In Mpumalanga, 20 people have died, while 17 died in Limpopo. The Lusikisiki massacre trial in the Eastern Cape is set to resume this morning at the Umtata High Court. This is in connection with the Ngobazana mass murder of 18 people, where 15 women, 2 men and a 14-year-old boy were gunned down. And at least 21 people have died and dozens more have been injured after 2 high-speed trains collided in southern Spain. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Very desperate situation in parts of Limpopo and Mpumalanga following heavy rains. More and more disruption, more and more devastation obvious this morning. In fact, on a daily basis, it just sort of adds up. Today, we're seeing that the R40 route, a key route linking Hoedspruit through to Palabora, is now closed, at least in a couple of sections. You can get from Hoedspruit to Palabora, but you've got to sort of go the long way round. And that's sort of the deal for a lot of these major routes that are closed. You don't really have local alternatives, and if you do, they're probably more minor roads, and they're probably just a muddy, soaked mess. We saw this weekend motorists getting stuck in mud, absolutely no assistance in the middle of nowhere, and having to spend the weekend evening in their vehicle stuck in mud in the middle of nowhere. So just really make sure you're ringing ahead, finding out from the locals where you're going, what the road conditions are like, or you're just avoiding unnecessary travel into that area. It is very desperate, and as I say, deteriorating situation. Pretoria, Sefako Makato, no traffic lights at the N1 coming out of Montana. Some real traffic to get through there. The N1 North is a mess coming in from bottom part of Soweto, Lenasia, Crossmere, Eldos. It's a couple of breakdowns in the Diepkloof interchange this morning. N1 North is backed from the N12 Potch Highway all the way up through Diepkloof down towards Uncle Charlie's. That is certainly one to avoid. Traffic lights in Pietermaritzburg at North Dale are offline. That's going to cause a problem, a real problem. It gets very busy there. At Cape Town side, no major issues on the roads, just really busy. N1 from Belleville through to Stable Road, N2 already backing up from the airport through to around Jan Smuts Drive. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Good morning to you, Ndao for the first update of the week. Let's start with news to do with the President of the United States opening up his toolbox and one of his favorite tools. Not the only tool. So it's not one of those situations where if the only tool you have is a hammer, you see every problem as requiring a nail. But this is one of those few favorite tools that he uses from time to time, the tool of tariffs.
That's right, Thulas. You know, when we think we've passed this tariff issue, or we're just dealing with the deals that are still in play, he throws in another spanner in the works. U.S. President Donald Trump escalating trade tensions with Europe by threatening tariffs on 8 NATO allies over Greenland, triggering backlash across the bloc. Now, imports from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the Netherlands and Finland will face a 10% duty from the 1st of February, then rising to 25% by June, unless Washington secures a deal with Greenland. Now, the tariffs would stack on existing levies, lifting effective rates for some sectors into the mid-teens or even higher. Now, Trump has argued Greenland is vital for U.S. national security due to its strategic Arctic location, proximity to Russia and China, and its role in missile defense and critical shipping routes. Now, the move has drawn criticism and threatens the EU-US trade agreement reached in August. European leaders rejected the ultimatum, calling an emergency meeting and warning security issues should be handled within NATO, not through economic coercion that risks undermining alliances. It'll be interesting to see if some of those world leaders do meet on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum. President Donald Trump will be there. Germany's chancellor will be there, as well as the EU Commission's president will be there as well.
All right, so all the players in the court, as it were, and only just waiting to see if they'll be able to engage and interact with one another. Let's focus on China. You're telling me this morning that exports have offset weak domestic demand, and the result is good for that economy.
Not good enough, but hey, I mean, who's going to complain for growth of about 4%? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The world's second largest economy, delivering a modest upside surprise in the final quarter of 2025, expanding 4.5% year on year. Now, the result came in slightly above market expectations and kept full-year growth in line with China's 5% target. Economists surveyed by Reuters had expected growth of 4.4%, easing from the previous quarter's 4.8% pace as softer consumer spending and weaker investment weighed on activity. Now, the third quarter marked the fourth quarter, that is, marked the slowest expansion in 3 years. For the full year, Beijing's economy grew 5%, meeting the government's goal. Beyond the figures, on the positive front, China's trade surplus climbed to a record high last year as exporters diversified away from U.S. markets amid tariff pressure. But domestic demand, of course, continued to lose steam, with confidence further dampened by the property sector downturn.
All right, recap for us how we closed on Friday and how we are starting the week on the markets.
Starting with U.S. markets, stocks closed flat, failing to end the week in the green, and this despite strong bank earnings and an upbeat showing from TSMC, which filtered through to the chip stocks, that, however, not lasting long. Coming back home, a downbeat finish for local markets as precious metals pulled back, resulting in a near 0.6% decline in the all share. The rand also trading slightly weaker this morning, but still under the 1650 mark, trading at 1641 to the greenback. In commodities, oil pretty steady this morning as easing Iran tensions lower the risk of U.S. intervention. Brent is sitting just under $63 a barrel. And then over in Asia, stocks starting the week mostly in the red. Traders there digesting a raft of economic data, including that print we were talking about, China's GDP figures. The nation, of course, managing to hit the government's 5% target, but slow consumption still keeping economists and investors worried.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. We'll talk to you once again just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And for that, we turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. Let's start in Uganda. It's 7 for 7, former 7.
That's quite true, Thulas. A refreshing morning and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Thulas, the election results have been pronounced over this weekend, and the Electoral Commission raising that President Museveni got 71%, almost 7.9 million votes, and his closest challenger, Robert Kakhulukhanyi Sentuma, which is Bobby Wine, got only 24%, to that translating to 2.7 million votes. Total of votes that were cast to us is almost 11 million. A voter turnout very low to us when I look at the numbers. Only 52% of the registered voters were able to vote for 2026. Others are trailing behind to us out of all those other 5 candidates. What is worrying also to us is this issue that we are now in the stage which I will always say to us is an electoral dispute resolution stage, where if any opposition party wants to go to the courts, they can still challenge the work of the Electoral Commission. Previously, to us, it was not also about the Electoral Commission, it was also around judiciary. How does it handle presidential disputes? Finally, I looked at the Observer Mission reports to us, very worrying, looking at African Union and COMESA and IGAD and East Africa Community, lamenting to us the issue of intimidation, the blackout of the internet shutdown, and calling for reforms, and also urging the government of Uganda to ratify the African Charter on Democracy and Elections. That is an important instrument to us in the African continent. Disturbing messages from Addis Ababa, the AU chairperson, congratulating President Museveni, William Ruto. That has caused tension to us because normally you wait for the whole process to end before you send those messages, because if one looks, there are many challenges that are being raised by this election observer mission.
But whatever the outcome, the horse has bolted. Usually, from experience, we know that even if the disputes are substantial and lead to some kind of process, we've rarely ever seen an election outcome once declared, ever seen it being overturned. Speaking of election outcomes, there's one that came out of Guinea-Conakry, and it has now had the consequence of the swearing in of that country's military leader.
That is quite true, Thulas. Over the weekend also, General Mamadi Doumbouya was sworn in as a president on Saturday. Those who were in attendance to us, you'll see from Mali, Colonel Asim Goit was there, Adam Barrow from D. Gambia, Paul Kagame from Rwanda, Bryce Oligwa Nguema from Gabon. Nigeria sent their deputy President Kashima Shettima, and Joseph Bukai also attended. I saw even Faye from Senegal was part of that inauguration in the AU. This is important to us. Despite that, we know that General Mamadou came into office through a military coup, and there were elections in 2025. That was the end of the year last month to us, and this weekend was just a confirmation of the inauguration of General Mamadi Doumbouya. We don't know whether Thulasizwe will align himself with the Alliance of the Sahel, or he will still be a member of ECOWAS.
And I saw the pictures of President Ramaphosa and the delegation led by Colonel Michael Randrianirina of Madagascar sitting outside the garden at Mahlambandlovu.
That is quite true, Tula. So over the weekend, also on Friday, just before the president can engage on the national dialogue induction, he had to cover this aspect of the island. You remember that Colonel Randrianirina was here to brief the president on the issues around the peaceful transitional process, which will include the national dialogue amongst the people of the island of Madagascar. President Ramaphosa also reaffirmed that the SADC will indeed deploy the panel of elders to Madagascar. To us, I'm still worried why elders when it was the Gen Z who led that revolution. For me, it is always have the intergenerational panels. Don't only take elders who might lose a signal and a data and the issues of the youth. And that's why I will always say that make what I'll call that intergenerational panel. Send in the panel of elders. Yes, they will deal with the issues of military, the issues of governance, but the youth to understand the Generation Z of Madagascar. And I think this is the same application in our national dialogue to us. Even if you have an eminent group of persons, make sure that you have a balance of this current young people, because they are the ones who will take the future to us. Me and you in the next 20 years, 30 years to us, we won't be there. So we must always pay the way for people.
Gotcha. Absolutely, Sipho. Lastly, then, let's go to your historical archives. Two issues that you want to focus on, both of them stemming from 1983 on the 19th of January.
Very important to us. If you have studied constitutional law, you'll know to us this was what I call the beginning of the sin, a sin of creating the tricameral parliament. But on this day, 43 years ago, the late Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi met with the president of the then Bantustan Transkei, President Kaiser Wahamatanzima in Tongat. They were saying they are opposing the tricameral constitutional proposal which excludes the Africans. This tricameral parliament, the House of the Assembly will have been the white representative, the House of Representatives will also be the colored representative, and the House of Delegates, the Indian representative. That was mooted with a referendum to us around 1984, but its genesis is 1983 during this month, and that's where you had the two leaders of African leaders from different provinces saying that we are not going to agree with this tricameral constitutional proposal. Probably today, to us, we can say we have the GNU, we don't have the tricameral parliament, we have the multi-party democracy, where we find all nations, all races in that parliament representing people of this country. That's how we'll end it to us as Asante Sana, as we're still leading the Truvezation SAFM.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula with your Africa update for this morning.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one, get one offer, you get great value for money. Get a free pair of branded single vision prescription sunglasses up to 3,300 Rand. When you purchase a comprehensive eye examination and spectacle frames with lenses on your first pair. The best part? Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Under Armour, Tommy Hilfiger, Red Bull Specs and more. Affordable eye care? Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
SABC2 is stepping into a new era, Papa, where every moment tells a story. A new era of conversations with Enklik Let's Connect at 4:30 p.m, bringing real talk and South African voices. A new era of Afrikaans news at 6:30 p.m, trusted information in the language you love. A new era of family entertainment. Omar Sari at 7 p.m. Celebrating humor, tradition and togetherness. A new era of excitement in a new time slot. Deal or No Deal at 7:30 p.m. Bringing primetime thrills home. A new era of drama. Pimville at 9 p.m. A brand new powerful telenovela from Soweto that grips the heart. And a new era of flavor with a new season of Color Your Plate with Koo, Sundays at 7 p.m. A new era begins on SABC2.
The National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
The regularity of deaths during our initiate season, be it winter or summer, right, is almost as predictable as the road accidents during the holiday season. And still it continues, isn't it?
This is very unfortunate. Talking of the figure, 48 young lives, healthy, living home, but unfortunately there are no more in the process of the customary initiation. We are now putting new measures to ensure that we deal with this challenge.
The Minister of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs, that's Kokta, of course, is Minister Velenkosi Klabisa.
Ashraf Gada on SAFM.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Very busy around Pretoria East. There's a power outage this morning. Lots of lights down on Solomon Mshlangu and other routes. It is very, very busy. Garsfontein, Solomon Mshlangu, Atterbury Road, Linwood Road, all of those key routes through Pretoria East are really battling along this morning. Back to work Monday volumes and hardly a traffic light working. Also, Sivaka Makato at the N1. Those lights are down if you're coming from Montana. That's very heavy. And lights are also out Lavender at Steve Biko up around Vanderbilt. Very slow. Mighty Mopani Highway jammed solidly this morning. Theo Martin's all the way down to Eskia and Pathleli. Other side of the province, really major backlogs coming out of Lenasia, out from Crossmere and Eldos. It's a couple of breakdowns in the Deepcliff interchange. The traffic starts to queue this morning on the N12 Potch Highway onto the N1, then all the way up the N1 across all lanes through Deepcliff and almost down to Uncle Charlie's before you're out of that. If you are Lenasia, might want to think about a reroute out through Aiken on Nirvana Drive as an alternative route. Roadworks on the N17 towards Wadeville causing some problems for motorists driving in from the Springs, Brakpan and the Boksburg area. No traffic lights this morning at North Dale, just around Pietermaritzburg. That'll be busy. A crash on Fields Hill means delays coming from Hillcrest into Kloof on your way down to Pinetown. It's all very slow getting along that M13 this morning. And Cape Town, just big volumes today. We're seeing it on the M3, Constantia, all the way through to Rhodes Drive, and plenty of traffic on Route 1. The queues start really around about sort of Brackenfell, Kryfontein area, and you stay in traffic all the way through to Sable Road at Century City. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Fly Safa has been named the most on-time airline in Africa and the Middle East by Cirium, world leader in aviation analytics. That's 3 years in a row we've been recognized for reliably getting you to the places and faces you love. But reliability doesn't come from shortcuts. It comes from care, consistency, and a commitment to service excellence. Because getting you there on time isn't just what we promise, it's what we do. Fly Safa, for the love of flying.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
10 minutes to 7. Government has officially classified the recent devastating floods in multiple provinces as a national disaster, a move welcomed by Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velenkosi Klabisa as a critical step in strengthening coordination across all spheres of government and speeding up the response effort in the hardest hit provinces. The severe weather that began in late December has now claimed at least 30 lives across Limpopo and Mpumalanga, with scores more injured and families displaced by rising waters and landslides. Initial assessments suggest billions of rand in infrastructure damage, with roads, bridges, homes and public facilities overwhelmed and many communities still cut off. Let's speak to the Minister, Velenkosi Nihlabisa, who joins me now to take that conversation forward. Good morning to you, Minister, and thank you for your time. It's been classified as a national disaster. Is that different from it being declared a national disaster? And if there is a difference, what is that difference?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and the listeners of the SAFM radio station. There is a slight difference. Firstly, if you make a declaration, you need to follow it up with regulations, which you must gazette, allow people to make some objections before you start anything to do. And if you have people who oppose it, we do not see things the similar way. Now, a declaration has many constraints because you need to put certain measures somehow that might be inconvenienced to people, but a classification has an equal effect, which is also urgent in terms of response, because as the classification was done yesterday, effectively yesterday, all departments, all three spheres of government, local, provincial, and national, have embarked on the reprioritization of budgets to see how they can intervene immediately when the water subsides. In Limpopo and Mpumalanga, departments can intervene straight away. But if it was a declaration, you had to wait for a considerable time until you clear the regulations in terms of objections.
Yeah. What's your initial sense, Minister, of the extent of the damage? We have the loss of life that we count somewhere in the region of over 31 or thereabouts, and perhaps you can give us an update if there is any in that regard. In Ngomazi alone, I saw the spokesperson talking about at least 500 houses that have been affected, and I saw in Limpopo the Premier talking about at least 5 billion rand in terms of the damage that has been caused.
The damage, Thulasizwe, is huge. What we see in the visuals, as I have been on the ground physically, it's almost the same. It's a huge damage. The infrastructure has been destructed, and that is why the urgent meeting that I convened in the evening of Saturday, we wanted to respond quickly, because in Limpopo, life is almost at a standstill. The communication has been cut off because roads have been washed away, bridges, and even schools have not yet opened. The infrastructure has been destroyed. That is why, therefore, we called for the classification, which has been done through the National Disaster Management Center under COCTA, which therefore allows all three spheres, because no municipality can meet the repairs alone, and no province can meet the repairs alone. As in Mpumalanga, they were estimating more than 2 billion. Of course, that amount is still going to be verified through proper assessment. This is a desktop assessment. When they were looking at the damage, as you rightly say, in Limpopo is above what is about 5.7 billion, the estimates which the Premier indicated, which is a huge amount of money that will be needed in order to restore better the damage that has been done.
And what's your sense of being able to ensure that whatever resources you mobilize are going to be targeted at the fallout from the floods, and that there'll be no abuse or a diversion of these financial resources? What systems are you putting in place? I know we've had a similar conversation last year when it related to the flooding in the Eastern Cape, and naturally in a country like ours, that conversation is never far off.
We have a close monitoring, Thulasizwe. The funds that we released to Eastern Cape last year, very soon I will be calling for accountability. I know what is happening because our technical team from MESA are still verifying some of the estimates so that we are sure that money is equal to the damage. Even here, we will get the assessment as it has been pronounced, but there will be further assessment from our side using technical experts to confirm that really the damage is equal to what is being done. And constantly, we will be doing accountability because we know we have a bad history which we want to stop in terms of abusing the resources when there has been an unfortunate situation like COVID-19 or major funerals, and also as the case of this catastrophe caused by floods.
And Minister, in terms of the nuts and bolts of the response, what are some of the most pressing needs that you are clear in your mind that over the next 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, these will need to be on the ground in Limpopo? In a situation where the needs are so varied, which ones are most pressing such that if you have to have apex priorities, these are the ones that you are hoping to deliver within a week, within 2 weeks?
The communication network, roads, interim crossover to rivers, bridges. As you rightly know, you can't build a bridge over a short period of time, but there should be immediate interventions to allow people to cross the rivers as well as to fix the roads, to ensure that schools open as early as next week, if not during the course of this week, because losing a day to our learners is a great loss. And thereafter is to ensure that all the departments, the key departments like transport, education, health, we are all on the ground in terms of intervening and reprioritizing our budget. That is why we were quick in terms of that even while water has not yet subsided, because there is little you can do if water are still so high. But immediately when the water subsides, our teams are ready to be on the ground. Tomorrow evening, I'm convening a second meeting of the Intergovernmental Committee on Disaster Management, where we said they must come with specific items of intervention in Limpopo and Mpumalanga, over and above the report they gave us yesterday.
All right, Minister, let's leave it there for this morning. I've got to thank you for your time. Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa, Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. Brings us to 7 a.m. and Musa is on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, flood-related death toll currently at 37 and Lusikisiki murder trial continues. Good morning. The flood-related death toll in Mpumalanga and Limpopo currently stands at 37. In Mpumalanga, 20 people have died while 17 died in Limpopo. Incidents of drowning continue to emerge from Palaborwa, Giyani and Toyando areas of Limpopo. Heavy rains have battered various parts of the provinces, damaging homes, roads and bridges. Limpopo Disaster Management Centre spokesperson Tsakani Baloyi says the province has ever welcomed the classification of a national disaster in flood-stricken provinces.
MEC Biskop Makamo has expressed his sadness on the rising of the number of fatalities since the beginning of the severe weather condition that has mainly affected Mopani, Vembe, Waterberg and some parts of Sekhukhune districts in Limpopo province. The MEC has sent deepest condolences to the families of 17 people who perished in this severe weather and the affected communities.
Meanwhile, day visits to the Kruger National Park will resume today. This after the park's authorities put restrictions in place following heavy rains that affected Limpopo and Mpumalanga. In a statement, San Park spokesperson JP Lowe says the northern part of the park will remain closed. Several roads and bridges have been washed away. The Lusikisiki massacre trial in the Eastern Cape is set to resume this morning at the Mthatha High Court. This is in connection with the Ngobazana mass killing of 18 people, where 15 women, 2 men and a 14-year-old boy were gunned down. Mzuki Sindamase, the alleged mastermind behind the September 2024 mass killing, is expected to continue his cross-examination. Nkululeko Nyembezi reports.
6 accused facing 29 charges, including 19 counts of murder, have all pleaded not guilty. The trial, set to run over 2 months, has seen 26 of 84 witnesses testify so far. Damase, already serving life for murder and robbery, is accused of orchestrating the killing of 18 people at Warrington Prison while awaiting parole. 2 men, now state witnesses, had their charges dropped, while Damase is representing himself. The prosecution says the killings were planned and premeditated, and past murders were linked to Damase, including a counsellor and his son in 2022.
Some Soweto parents say human trafficking, kidnapping and cyberbullying are risks children face when their parents post them on social media platforms wearing school uniform. Their sentiments come amid a warning released by the Ekurhuleni Metro Police cautioning parents to refrain from displaying school logos, uniform or location of their children online. The EMPD's Constable Thabiso Mahatu says posting children online can put them at risk of kidnappings.
We urge caution when posting images that display school logos, uniform, or locations online. These details can pose serious safety risks and expose children to online predators. Child trafficking continues to be a growing concern in South Africa, with social media being a key tool used by traffickers to lure children. Parents and guardians are encouraged to remain vigilant, monitor children's online activity, and work closely with law enforcement to ensure the safety of all learners.
And finally, at least 21 people have died and dozens more have been injured after 2 high-speed trains collided in southern Spain. The incident occurred when a train travelling from Malaga to Madrid derailed near Ademuz. The BBC's Barry Free reports.
Now, we have actually heard from Pedro Sanchez, Spain's Prime Minister, who said the government was working with the emergency services. He said that tonight is a night of deep pain for Spain due to the tragic railway accident at Ademuz. He said he wanted to express his most sincere condolences to the families, friends and loved ones of the victims. And he said, no words can alleviate such immense suffering, but I want them to know that the entire country stands with them in this extremely difficult moment.
Recapping the top story, the flood-related death toll in Mpumalanga and Limpopo currently stands at 37. In Mpumalanga, 20 people have died, while 17 died in Limpopo. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. Plenty of action over the weekend. It's AFCON drama, and we'll bring you the moment where Kalidou Koulibaly is lifting the lid on Senegal's AFCON walk-up. We'll find out more. And it's rugby with the Springbok Women's Sevens team crowned champions. All the details just before 7:30.
OUTsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. OUTsurance is saving 27-year-old Liam big bucks on his car insurance.
Saving so much every month, around 640 Rand.
That's an awesome 640 Rand saving on Liam's 2020 Ford Ranger. And after 3 claim-free years, he gets an out bonus.
Definitely getting a lot out.
Get a quote now and see how much money OUTsurance could save you. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, Pretoria East with a power outage. Lots of lights out and back to work Monday as well. Big volumes, no traffic lights, a bit of a disaster. Solomon, Mashlangu is bad. Linwood, Atterbury, Garsfontein, all of those routes affected and under pressure with some big volumes. I think it's the Vapadran substation that is offline this morning. Midrand, fairly busy down as far as New Road, coming in from the south side of Joburg. Heavy on the R59 towards Michelle Avenue. Really bad on the N1 from N12, Potch Highway, all the way through Deepcliff to Uncle Charlie's. Couple of breakdowns there. Roadworks on the N17, heading down towards Osborne Road, Wadeville area. Very slow in from Boksburg. Crash outside Durban on the M13, Fields Hill. It's slow today, coming off Old Main at Hillcrest onto the M13, and then all the way down through Kloof and into that Pinetown area. Komashu Highway still with traffic light problems, so coming out from Mallandela Road towards the N2, that's a bad one. And Cape Town, some big volume on the N1 from Kryfontein all the way through to Sable Road. Marine Drive backed up to Sunset Beach as you come out from Bloberg and Tableview. And there's quite a bit of pressure already on the M5 lighting up from Kenilworth Road all the way to Cooper. Get a change. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's just gone 8 minutes after 7 on this Monday. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Also broadcasting live as always on our digital platforms, especially on social media, on X as well as on Facebook as well. Just live there, but also on our YouTube channel, SAFM Radio. Among some of what we will tell you over this coming hour, we'll continue the conversation around the official classification of a national disaster around the floods that have hit several provinces. I know that the focus right now is on Limpopo and Mpumalanga, but add therein KwaZulu-Natal, parts of the Northwest, the Eastern Cape, all of that is covered by this classification. We'll speak to Elias Sithole, who is the head of the National Disaster Management Center, to explain and take us through the reasoning and the thinking behind that classification of a national disaster. And then immediately after that, we turn our attention to the controversy around the actions of Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, Minister Gayton McKenzie, around South Africa's participation at the Venice Biennale, where, you know, our pavilion, basically, we will not utilize our pavilion at the Biennale, and the display, the artwork by Gabriel Goliath, is known as Elegy, is at the heart of it all. The minister's decision to say, if this is the entry, if this is the showcase and showpiece that will be at our pavilion, would rather not participate at all, and basically saying that, you know, he doesn't want the pavilion to be hijacked by an unnamed foreign government. He said foreign government at play. But also at the same time happening is the termination of the relationship between Goliath, the artist, and the Goodman Gallery. Whether it's coincidence or not, that's where the debate is at the moment. Whether it's coincidental or it's linked, these events are linked. And remember, the Goodman Gallery, the same gallery that was at the center of that artwork that was done in 2010, but also came to light, I think it was 2012, the spear. You remember that, and the whole controversy of the spear that depicted former President Jacob Zuma. And yeah, basically that drawing that became controversial. I'll speak to Percy Mabandu at about 7:20. He's an art curator and historian to put all of that into perspective for us. The numbers to dial to be part of these conversations: 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The second hour of the morning brief starts now.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
All right, let's go back to that story around the classification of a national disaster around the devastating floods in multiple provinces. Of course, we've told you that it's a move that has been welcomed by Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velenkosi Nihlabisa, who's welcomed it as a critical step in strengthening coordination across all spheres of government and speeding up the response effort in the hardest hit provinces. Let's speak to Elias Sithole, who is the head of the National Disaster Management Center. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Ultimately, it fell on you, having done the work and the consultation with multiple stakeholders to classify what has happened in these provinces as a national disaster. It's been a disaster to our eyes just looking at it, but what formally, in terms of the prescripts and the various thresholds that you apply, led to you classifying it as a national disaster?
Thank you very much, Thulasizwe. Good morning to you and good morning to the listeners. Yes, before we classify an event as a national disaster or a provincial disaster, there are a number of areas which we look at. Firstly, the extent of the damage in that particular area. For example, the number of infrastructure which has been damaged, or the extent of the damage to the infrastructure, like your roads, the bridges, any other infrastructure, but also the impact to the communities. We've seen in this case, there are a number of schools which has been, the roofs of the schools have been blown off. Some of the government infrastructure, the bridges, low-lying bridges have been washed away, and then some of the infrastructure. And then also, we look in terms of the capacity of the municipality where this event has occurred, whether do they have capacity either in the form of financial resources, but also we look in terms of provincial capacity, in terms of financial resources, whether they can actually come in and assist that particular municipality. But if then all those things which I've just mentioned now, we realize that the only way to effect these kind of activities is to go the route of the classification. Then we then get the assessment reports, even if is that not 100%, because some of the areas are not easily accessible, then we classify an event.
Dr. Sithole, the classification, I know that the focus now is on Mpumalanga and Limpopo, and to a certain extent parts of KwaZulu-Natal, areas around Jozini. But your classification actually goes beyond that and includes other provinces. Just give me a sense of what it covers, especially in those underreported provinces.
Yeah, we've realized in the Eastern Cape, they were affected by floods as well. Northwest also, they were affected by floods. And then also KZN, as we have mentioned. So our classification covered those provinces as well, because we thought let's not only focus to Limpopo and Mpumalanga, because these other provinces as well, even though the focus now is more on Limpopo and Mpumalanga, but those provinces also, they need help as well from the national government. That's why we've included those provinces as well. They do report, they do submit reports, they do also come and report in our meetings in terms of what they're doing in their space.
So with this classification, what are you hoping? Well, perhaps not hoping. What are your expectations? What does it trigger? The response that it triggers?
Yeah, what it triggers, we'll actually be able to coordinate this thing at national level. It triggers in terms of the coordination. So we'll be able to bring other departments on board so that we're able to speed up some of the activities on the ground. That's number one. Number two, it also triggered a process where we are able to reach out to Treasury to request additional funding, but also it triggers a process where from our side as a National Disaster Center, we are able to disperse money or allocate the money to those affected municipalities or provinces. But also it triggers a process where at the provincial level, the provincial departments are able to reprioritize the monies or the budget which they have so that they're able to assist the affected municipalities. But also it triggers a process within the municipality itself to reprioritize any money which they have so that they're able to assist the community as speed.
And Dr. Sithole, at the very least, and I raised this with the minister a couple of minutes ago, we're looking at least just over 5 billion rand in terms of the impact and damage in Limpopo, over 2 billion rand in Mpumalanga, and I'm not able to speak to the other provinces that you've included. From your vantage point, and I know you don't control the purse strings, but seeing as you've mentioned the possibility of releasing some financial resources from your center, National Disaster Management Center, what's your assessment of the availability of the financial resources that will be required to respond to this disaster, knowing and understanding the scale of it all, the homes impacted, temporary housing that will be needed, the rebuilding of bridges and, perhaps construction of temporary roads and bridges and the likes, social infrastructure, economic infrastructure, water treatment plants and the likes. What's your sense of how easily you can mobilize this money and what you have already available in the kitty?
Yeah, we have two grants which we have as a National Disaster Center, and each and every year Treasury allocate monies to those grants, and those are the grants which we are able to transfer or allocate it to the provinces and also to the municipalities. Right now, we do have some few, I would say, financial resources under control of the National Disaster Center. In the next financial year, which is the start of the 1st of April, when the 1st of April starts, we are going to have the new allocations there, which actually we'll be able to use it. But also in the meantime, what we are saying is that as much as the money is running into billions in terms of the request, but at the provincial level, we've seen other provinces, they've already reprioritized their budget. There's some few monies available there. With that small amount of money, with the money which we have, we could actually focus and deal with these immediate project activities. For example, reconstruction of the roads, urgently making sure that there is some form of a temporary bridge if we have to build a proper bridge, because building a bridge takes some time, but we need to connect those villages so that people, they can go to work and kids, they can go to school. So those monies, they will be made available now before the end of March, and then also in the beginning of April, there will be budget in our grants which we could allocate to those affected municipalities and province. But also the billions one, there's another process which we also use in terms of submitting to Treasury and request those billions of rands. And most of the time, Treasury comes on board and assists us in that regard.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Dr. Elias Sithole is head of the National Disaster Management Center, the NDMC.
Want to know how much money OUTsurance saves 35-year-old Zanai on her car insurance?
A whopping 1,180 Rand.
That's an incredible 1,180 Rand monthly saving on Zanai's 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA. And the out bonus she'll get?
It is close to 6,500 Rand in 3 years if I'm claim-free.
Nice. How much money could OUTsurance save you? SMS OUT to 30754. That's OUT to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
The thirst for maximum points has kicked in. Ziga Mambo and Amakosi are both looking for first victory in Group D. This is the bottom of the table contest of the CAF Confederation Cup. Witness the Southern African Derby, Zesco United clashes with Kaizer Chiefs on Sunday, 25 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
21 minutes after 7. Yet another artwork linked to the Goodman Gallery has found itself at the center of a national controversy, reopening old debates about art, politics and power. This time it's artist Gabriel Goliath's work, Elegy. This after the Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie pulled South Africa out of the Venice Biennale, saying the state could not associate itself with what he described as a politically divisive intervention. The decision has triggered fierce backlash, as you can imagine, from artists, curators and opposition parties, and has by design or default also coincided with the Goodman Gallery severing its decade-old ties with Goliath amid the growing storm. The Democratic Alliance has accused the Minister of censorship and abuse of power, announcing it will report him to the Public Protector. And of course, for many, the moment echoes an earlier flashpoint at the Goodman Gallery, the uproar around the spear during the Jacob Zuma presidency, reminding the country that battles over art and free expression are never far from the surface. Let's speak to Percy Mabandu, art curator and historian. Good morning to you, Percy, and thank you for your time. What's your best explanation for someone who's not been following this controversy around Elegy about why we are at this point debating it and it's deemed as a controversy?
Thanks for having me, Thulasizwe. I've been thinking about this, and I think at the heart of it, really, it actually has very little to do with things around the artwork itself. But what we are seeing here is the fault lines at the nature of the GNU. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this. So Minister Gayton McKenzie has a particular position on Gaza and what ought to be South Africa's position on it. He clearly does not share the policy position or the policy orientation that the president and the state has taken insofar as South Africa's posture towards what Israel has been doing in Gaza. We are the country that has led the charge by taking Israel to the International Criminals Court. We have located ourselves in solidarity with the struggle of the Palestinians. So these are policy positions that are clear. Minister Gayton McKenzie has come out, for all intents and purposes, in opposition to that, and this may have to do with his position as leader of the Patriotic Alliance, which enjoys funding from interests that are oriented in that way. However, he now finds himself as a minister, as a member of the executive of a state or of a government that has a particular view that runs contrary to his. So he has particular sensitivities against these positions that seeks to foreground the victimhood of the Palestinians in the world. And I think that came through in relation to this artwork, which seems to highlight the plight of the Palestinians.
And as you talk about that, for the benefit of someone who's not been following the controversy, what is Elegy about, this work by Gabriel Goliath, and where does it fit within the classifications and categorizations of art and the messaging behind art?
Yeah, so this is a decade-old artwork that Gabriel Goliath, the artist, has, a multidisciplinary artist, has been working on. It's an artwork that has looked at issues of femicide, both in South Africa and in Namibia, for instance, with the genocide of the Herero by German colonial forces. She has a history of interrogating issues around the ways in which women, people who are LGBTQ have been victimized by violence, and she extends that narrative of violence against women and children to what has been happening in Gaza. when she then comes into to be selected as the artist whose work is going to be shown in the South African Pavilion at the Venice Biennale. And that orientation is natural, in the way in which the artwork has progressed, in the way she's been laying it out over the years. What we then have is that it coincides with these, as you call it, flashpoints in the country's politics around the Gaza issue. Now, another thing that comes up is that we have, these allegations that the minister has made that a foreign country had sort of seemed to be hijacking our pavilion by funding this artwork. What he doesn't understand is the idea that some of the Emiratis are some of the largest buyers of art, or collectors of art currently, because they are busy building museums and whatnot. And this artwork was earmarked to be purchased in that context. So he read this as a kind of interference by the Qataris. But of course we know that this does not make sense when you look at the reporting that has been done around the issue.
So, and you speak of the reporting, and credit to the work that has been done by Daily Maverick in reporting extensively on this work. To someone who perhaps has been listening to the minister and this justification that says he believes that the artwork pushes a political agenda, and arguing that the state must remain neutral and unifying. Talk to that theme. Someone who may perhaps say, well, I hear what he's saying about state remaining neutral and unifying, and perhaps asking, why is this the art that represents South Africa for that purpose on an international showcase like that?
Well, first and foremost, if we move from the understanding that the state is actually not neutral, the state, errs on the side of human rights for all. The state errs on the sides or moves on the side of upholding freedom, justice, equality for everyone, and that is a function of our Bill of Rights. And so the state can't be neutral in that sense. However, just to follow that line of argument, as South Africans, our heritage in the world, as far as art history is concerned, is that we have a unique heritage of protest art. We have a unique heritage that uses art to celebrate and to promote freedom, justice, equality for everyone else. In fact, our democratic dispensation is a product of that kind of artistic activism. You just only have to walk through our constitutional court to see the role that art has played over the years to highlight the importance or the suffering of people and to campaign on behalf of human rights of people from all walks of life. Now, why this artwork becomes even more appropriate is that it is in fact closer to the policy positions that our government has taken in the world, so that in this instance, Gabriel Goliath's creative imagination toes the line of the South African government better than the minister himself, who seems to be the one who's out of pocket on the issues of the government that he works for.
I'm out of time, Percy, but very quickly, also at the same time, happening at the same time, the Goodman Gallery terminating its decade-old relationship with Gabriel Goliath. The initial reporting is that these two are not necessarily directly linked, but is it sheer coincidence?
Look, the message that came out of the gallery, I mean, I received the statement too, and that statement outlines that they had taken this decision in November, long before the issue has happened. So if we take them at their word, they're saying that it's coincidental. But we may speculate that, of course, as a business, they don't want to be part of another storm. I was at the City Press as an art reporter at the time of the spear. I was right in the middle of it, and I would understand the businesses, the business not wanting to be part of another controversy. So that would make sense from them looking after their own business interest. But of course, based on what they're saying, is that they've taken that decision to sever ties with, I think, 11 artists, if not 10,
Yeah.
if my memory serves me well, in November as part of them repositioning themselves as a
All right.
business. So that remains to be seen.
All right, Percy, thank you for that. What a debate this is all triggering, and it will be fascinating to see where the dust settles, right? All of these moving pieces and these moving parts, and the reporting to the public protector. Was the minister within his authority to undertake this action, or, as Percy puts it, out of pocket, out of line, as it were, in dealing with this situation in this way? Let's go to Ann Musa. We'll come back with your sports headlines in a moment.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, teaching and learning is expected to resume in most of the areas that have been affected by heavy rains in Mpumalanga. The flood-related death toll in Mpumalanga and Limpopo currently stands at 37. In Mpumalanga, 20 people have died, while 17 died in Limpopo. And the Cape Winelands District Municipality's fire services say crews are continuing with active firefighting in Franschhoek. The fire broke out on Saturday. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
We're very heavy trying to negotiate parts of Pretoria this morning. Lights are down as you come out of Montana on Sefako Makato at the N1. That's a heavy queue. Also Pretoria East with a failure at the Vapadrand power substation. So Pretoria East battling without power this morning. All your big routes, Solomon Mishongu's bad, Linwood, Atterbury, Garsfontein, and those routes feeding in a lot of congestion out that side of Pretoria. Joburg, the N1 coming up from the south, a disaster. A couple of breakdowns going into Deepcliff Interchange. Traffic starts back on the N12 Golden Highway exit at Eldo's, all the way through Deadman's Bend, up through the Golden Highway at Devlin, all the way through Deepcliff down towards Uncle Charlie's. It's bad. The N3 coming in from Sprayview, crash before Heidelberg Road, so extra pressure, and the roadworks on the N17 around Osborne Road, pushing queues back towards the Rondebolt Road exit on your way to Joburg. Durban, N2 going north is heavy. Big queues from Queen Nandi Drive up through Kwamashu, up towards Gateway. If you're on your way to the airport, make sure you've got a ton of time to get through that. Crash on the N, or it's a breakdown, in fact, on the N3 inbound at the M13 Paradise Valley. So coming past Pinetown, the N3 into Durban's heavy, and no lights this morning, Tollgate Bridge. So the N3 going inbound, queues to get off at that Tollgate off-ramp. Cape Town, the N1 from Belleville through to Cooper Interchange looking pretty heavy. A lot of pressure out of Tableview. Again, queues from Sunningdale on Marine Drive all the way through to West Coast, well, the West Coast Road, and then right down as far as Sunset Beach this morning. And a bit of a backlog going on the R300, slow between Delft and the Kales River Stickland off-ramp at Funeribic Road. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you. Let's start with news out of AFCON and that final. It was dramatic, it was chaotic at times, it was sensational, and ultimately Senegal, prevailing. Not before there was something of a walk-off and all of that drama that played itself out and the controversies.
Oh, absolutely, Thulas. I mean, even VAR needed VAR last night. So much of drama, like you said. But a happy ending, yeah, for Senegal, man. I mean, finishing champions in AFCON. Kalidou Koulibaly shedding some light on that dramatic moment where the Teranga Lions captain revealing how frustration boiled over after a late VAR awarded penalty to the host Morocco, prompting the Senegalese players to briefly walk off the pitch in protest. Now, the emotions were running high before Sadio Mane stepped in to calm the situation and lead the team back onto the field. Senegal would go on to regroup and lift their second AFCON title.
I think you saw everything. I think when you see that we scored and there was no foul, it was really strange that the referee whistled this foul. And after we see foul during our corner kick, it was difficult to see a foul on Abdoulaye Seck, but I think that was not a foul. And after, I think that the fact that they saw with the VAR penalty against us was, I think, the difficult situation that we had to manage, and we decided we have a big decision to take, and that we wanted to stop the game. But after this The player like Sadio wanted to come back in the pitch, and they show a lot of character. And after we keep on playing, and we scored this goal.
There we go. Kalidou Koulibaly there speaking after the dramatic moment at the Africa Cup of Nations final. Let's go to rugby. The Springbok Women's Sevens crowned HSBC 7-3 champions in Dubai, finishing the tournament unbeaten. The South African team edged Argentina 12-5 in the final, with Zinhle Mpupa levelling late before Patience Makone crossed in the final minute. Nadine Rose adding the conversion. The win also secures qualification to the next sevens tier, with stops in Nairobi, Montevideo, as well as Sao Paulo. And finally, golf. Spain's Nacho Elvira claimed the Dubai Invitational, capitalizing on Shane Lowry's final hole collapse. Lowry double bogeyed the 18th after finding bunker and water, opening the door for Elvira, who held his nerve to secure his first European Tour win of the year. That's your sport. We'll tee back top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Dowling, good morning to you once again. Let's start with, I suspect that not many homeowners and people with homes financed by banks and the likes who pay a certain interest rate, I suppose, and I suspect not many will be protesting about this Competition Commission probe coming hot off the heels of another intervention that you were telling us about by the Reserve Bank around the prime rate, not the repo rate.
That's right, Tula. So the competition watchdog's long-running investigation into alleged cartel behavior linked to the priming rate has reached an advanced stage, keeping the benchmark under scrutiny. Now, the Competition Commission confirmed that the probe, launched in 2021, is examining how the prime rate is set and applied across the banking sector. In a News 24 article, the country's major banks say they are cooperating fully with the process. Standard Bank and First Rand have confirmed engagements with the Commission and responses to its queries, while Nedbank said it has provided full cooperation and will continue to do so as the investigation unfolds. ABSA said it supports constructive industry-wide dialogue, while Capitec declined to comment, referring reporters to the Banking Association. Now, the association said the 3.5 percentage point spread between the repo rate and prime rates was fixed in 2001 to support effective monetary policy transmission, that is. Of course, that has come under scrutiny, as mentioned there, as the SARB confirms that it will be reviewing the gap we are seeing between the repo and the prime rate. Banks maintain that prime is a reference rate, not a profit margin, and does not determine loan pricing on its own.
Sure, it's such an important conversation. That gulf between the repo rate and the prime rate determines really ultimately how much homeowners and other people who have credit that there is an interest rate, how much they end up paying. Tell me why JP Morgan is raising, shall we call it a yellow flag, not red flag, yellow flag perhaps, around earnings at Sasol?
Now, the financial institution has cited concerns about earnings momentum and the broader operating environment. JP Morgan flagged currency risks as a key challenge, warning that a stronger rand is becoming more of a headwind for the company. Now, Sasol generates a big portion of its revenue in foreign currency through its global chemicals and energy operations, most of which are priced in dollars. Now, while a weaker rand typically boosts rand-denominated earnings, a firmer local currency erodes profits even when sales volumes remain resilient. The rand, of course, has strengthened by nearly 13% against the dollar over the past year, adding to pressure from persistently low oil and chemical prices. The downgrade adds to a growing list of cautious views from banks and ratings agencies on the company, reflecting concerns about weak demand dynamics and strained credit metrics, even though the group is, of course, on that turnaround plan, which we'll probably hear more about when it releases its trading update sometime this week. On the back of the news, Sasol's share price tanked 11.8%, indicating, of course, some investor nervousness.
Lastly, Dowling, where do things stand in as far as the markets are concerned?
Kicking things off in Asia, markets in negative territory this morning with Japan's Nikkei leading the losses down close to 0.9%. This as traders digest political developments while eyeing the Bank of Japan's next rates move. Policymakers on that front will be announcing a rate decision on Friday. The mood is similar on Wall Street with futures in negative territory. This as investors fret over the potential of additional tariffs on some EU nations. Back home, trade downbeat with the JSE all share closing in the red, down 0.6%. And this comes as the precious metals rally hits a snag. And that also weighing slightly on the rand, but it still remains below the psychological 1650 level at 1640 to the greenback this hour. Lastly, in commodities, oil prices are relatively stable with easing tensions around Iran reducing the of U.S. intervention. Crude is trading just below $63 a barrel.
Dowling, thank you for that. We'll talk to you once again just after 8:30.
Fly Safa has been named the most on-time airline in Africa and the Middle East by Cirium, world leader in aviation analytics. That's 3 years in a row we've been recognized for reliably getting you to the places and faces you love. But reliability doesn't come from shortcuts. It comes from care, consistency, and a commitment to service excellence. Because getting you there on time isn't just what we promise, it's what we do. Fly Safa, for the love of flying.
Time. When you're a kid, it moves slower than a sloth trying to get through airport security. There is just so much of it. Skip forward a few years to your 20s. Time is still your friend. It says have some balance. Go party and have fun. Then your 30s hit. And time suddenly steps on the accelerator like it's trying to catch a traffic light before it goes red. 40s. Now time is moving faster than your 10-year-old on a sugar high. 50. You're desperately trying to save as much as you can, but time is moving so fast. And all you can think is, where did all the time go? That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time for some much-deserved you time. Now, isn't that a compelling enough reason to invest? Ellen Gray. Long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
Babilanoko want to rubber stamp that kumnandi in the top half, while Ezimnyama Ngenkani are highly spirited to make this their season to shine. This is the Betway Premiership. Lesekazini forever. Catch Skukune United versus Orlando Pirates on Saturday, 24 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
16 minutes to 8. Let's turn to this now. The Defense Minister, Angie Motshekga, has ordered a board of inquiry to investigate why President Cyril Ramaphosa's instruction to exclude Iran from the multinational naval exercise Will for Peace 2026 in False Bay was apparently not obeyed. The controversy has raised serious questions about civilian and executive control of the military, internal command discipline within the SANDF, and the country's diplomatic posture at a sensitive moment in its relations with the United States. Let's speak to Peter Fabricius, independent journalist and analyst on foreign policy issues. Good morning to you, Peter, and thank you for your time. Just from your own following of this story, what happened? We were told that Iran was not going to take part in this naval exercise by BRICS plus countries. What then happened?
Yeah, well, as you're reading there, then for some reason, and it's not 100% certain, Iran did take part, as far as one could tell. And it seems, as far as I can figure out, is that, you know, this thing had acquired a certain momentum already. I mean, Iran had been scheduled to be part of it for some time. the ships had already arrived. And then, and I think the Navy, I don't know, the Board of Inquiry is going to have to answer that question, but I think the Navy and the SANDF may have decided that it was just too late, and so they just allowed the plan to go ahead in defiance of the president,
Diplomatically, how much does this muddy the waters? It also coming at a time when Iran is also under the spotlight for its crackdown on the protesters, but also just in terms of where we are with the United States in terms of that negotiation of that relationship.
No, it obviously comes. Look, I mean, it was always going to be a bad time as far as the Trump administration is concerned, and it came at a particularly bad time, as you said, because there were these ongoing protests in Iran against the government, and a pretty brutal crackdown, which is all over the news. And actually peaking at the time of that exercise beginning. And then also there was this AGOA, the renewal of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which was just going through Congress. When the decision was made to exclude Iran, the legislation to renew AGOA was about to come before the full House in a few days' time, last Monday, in other words. And so it was bad timing, and in fact, it appears to have been the U.S. Embassy which brought this to the attention of President Ramaphosa and his administration, and that was what led to the decision to withdraw Iran.
Mm-hmm. But it's a fascinating conversation, is it not, Peter? I mean, why does this question arise around Iran and not necessarily around China and Russia? Because the exercise we know was led by China.
Yeah, no, that is a good question. I think the only way I can explain that is that it's like almost a bridge too far. It was just too much. I mean, yes, the U.S. and other Western nations are not very enthusiastic about the fact that we're conducting military exercise with Russia and China. Particularly Russia, and that came up, of course, after the invasion by Russia of Ukraine. But I think it was just extra sensitive that this was happening at a time when relations with Iran are particularly fraught, So that was just, I mean, the whole exercise was, is a problem for the U.S.
Yeah. So we've not seen a blowing up, quote unquote, blowing up in terms of the response from Washington. Do you expect that is still to come, or perhaps it might be used in debates going forward with AGOA, for example, having passed through the House of Representatives and now headed for the Senate and then later on the U.S. president's desk, that perhaps more than making noise about it, we may see it informing certain decisions being made going forward?
Well, some noise was made, I mean, the embassy issued a statement via X last week, on I think Friday, towards the end of the week, when it became clear that Iran was still part of the exercise. They issued a statement that was pretty critical. The chairperson of the Senate, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Jim Risch, has issued a statement which basically said, well, this is too much, nothing that the South Africa does can really correct this, and Trump is right to cut us off. So and then but the true effect will probably be felt when that legislation, if it is passed by the Senate and signed by Trump, and we don't know, nothing with the Trump administration is really predictable, then there may be some kind of special review of South Africa's eligibility, and that's when these things will be remembered,
Lastly, Peter, locate this for us within the broader, and we use this word quite a lot these days, geopolitical context. South Africa conducts exercises with militaries and navies of various countries, of various persuasion, the United States itself being one of those from time to time in terms of cooperation and exercises being undertaken. Why does this matter now that, exercises that have been undertaken before? Exercise Mose, for example, was one of those. This one is called Will for Peace 2026. Why does it matter that it's being conducted now in the geopolitical context?
Yeah. Well, first one would have to say that there was quite a lot of controversy about Mosey 2. And the Mosey 2 took place in February 2023 on the first anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And some people suspected that the military had done it deliberately on the first anniversary in order to show that kind of silent support for Russia. But yes, it's happening at a time of huge geopolitical tensions, growing tensions between, but especially actually between Iran and the US. So Trump is not as tough at all on Russia as the Biden administration was. In fact, he seems to be in some ways quite a good friend of Putin's in a very disturbing way, I think. He's not well disposed towards China, but China doesn't seem to be quite on the radar screen to the extent of Iran at the moment, and that's because, as we've seen, there's been these protests, the brutal put down. We've seen attacks last year by Israel on Iran, and Trump supporting that with a military strike on Iran's nuclear facility. So Iran is very much top of mind with the Trump administration at the moment.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Peter Fabricius, independent journalist and analyst on foreign policy issues.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
One of those very heavy mornings coming in from the south side of Joburg. You know how bad it can be. It's that and a little bit more this morning. We're talking about the run into Diepkloof. If you're coming in from Lenasia, Soweto, Protea, Glenside up from Meldos, it's heavy. A couple of breakdowns around the Diepkloof interchange with a heavy queue from the N12 Golden Highway all the way up through Diepkloof and effectively down to Uncle Charlie's before you're out of that. Staying south, R59 jam-packed to Michelle Avenue northbound. The N3 a crash before Heidelberg Road, so heavy pressure passing Sprayed View, and the N17 is quite a heavy backlog from Boksburg through Wadeville as you hit a single lane section for roadworks. N1 north from Beyersdorp heading up towards Four Ways, an issue there just north of Malabongwe Drive as you backed up across all lanes. Pretoria East is heavy today. Traffic lights out, multiple junctions along Atterbury, Linwood, especially Solomon Mashlangu, and Garsfontein, a power outage causing those delays. Into Capital Park, Pretoria, Paul Kruger, very heavy coming through from the Mayville side as well. Durban, a really busy Monday. The M13, Hillcrest Downfield Hill to Pinetown stays busy. Stationary vehicle at Paradise Valley on your way into Durban. The N3 passing Pinetown's bad. The N2 from around about sort of Queen Nundy Drive all the way up through Gateway is really heavily backed up. There's also some backlogging going southbound through Gateway, and the M4 and Umhlanga Rocks Drive, both of those routes between Durban and Umhlanga under pressure as well. Cape Town, school traffic around the Rondebosch area, Belmont Park and particularly Campground Road, that's all a bit messy at this stage. The M5 is heavy from Kenilworth up to Coburg Interchange, and coming south into that M5, the Coburg Road heavy from Rugby through Brooklyn, and a crash on the N7 North, Jakes Kerville at the N1 Highway. Big traffic out of Goodwood on your way towards Bosmansdam Road, passing that one. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
SABC2 is stepping into a new era, Papa, where every moment tells a story. A new era of conversations with Enklik Let's Connect at 4:30 p.m, bringing real talk and South African voices. A new era of Afrikaans news at 6:30 p.m, trusted information in the language you love. A new era of family entertainment, Omar Sari at 7 p.m, celebrating humor, tradition and togetherness. A new era of excitement in a new time slot, Deal or No Deal at 7:30 p.m, bringing primetime thrills home. A new era of drama, Pimville at 9 p.m, a brand new powerful telenovela from Soweto that grips the heart, and a new era of flavor with a new season of Color Your Plate with Koo, Sundays at 7 p.m. A new era begins on SABC2.
Do great solutions start with good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
5 minutes to 8. Overnight, scenes from Rabat in Morocco that will be talked about in African football for years. A final that began as a hard-fought clash between two of the continent's powerhouses and ended quite literally in chaos. At the Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium, under the watchful eyes of more than 66,000 fans, Senegal edged hosts Morocco 1-0 in extra time to lift the 2025 African Cup of Nations trophy. But not before tempers flared, rules were questioned, and the very flow of play was brought to an astonishing halt. Let's speak to Nkululeko Nkewu, who is co-founder of Itiski Media. Good morning to you, Nkululeko. Thank you for your time. How was that final?
Dramatic, very dramatic. We want football to be dramatic insofar as it brings us 3 goals or 5 goals or 7 goals. In 2023, the Qatar World Cup brought us 6 goals. It was 3 on the side of Argentina and 3 on the side of France, and it was dramatic in that sense, and it could have been 7 goals. So ours was dramatic in a sense that, of course, there were no goals in 90 minutes, but there were a lot of controversial decisions. Senegal scores a goal which is ruled out by the referee in normal time. And, of course, that's contentious because there's a slight touch on a defender from Morocco. So a goal by Senegal is ruled out. Moments later, it is decided through VAR and the referee checking the screen that Morocco deserves a penalty. And that, of course, kicks off the drama. Because to delegitimize the crime that's going at that point, was the coach of Senegal, calls his players off. He says, look, let's go out. They can win the tournament if they want to win it. And I kind of like that protest spirit of, if you want to take this in a criminal way, take it, but know that it is without our participation. We'll take our punishment by losing the final and perhaps further punishment after the game. I kind of like that spirit because you have to delegitimize a crime that's ongoing. Don't participate in it, But I think as an effect of that protest for like 15 minutes, Brahim Diaz stood there waiting to take a penalty. Senegalese fans are protesting visibly and loudly, and Senegal players are leaving. That means you alone in that stadium, are surrounded by 70,000 human beings, are left pondering, what is it I'm going to do? Do I take this penalty to the left of the goalkeeper, to the right of the goalkeeper? Are these Senegalese going to come back in the first place? What's going to happen here? And that's one of the worst things that can ever happen in football, the delay before you take a penalty, because a penalty in football is just you and the goalkeeper. Normally you have the advantage because the poles are bigger than the goalkeeper. You choose one spot and the goalkeeper goes to the wrong direction, and then you win the final for your team. And I think the effect of that protest actually did wonders for Senegal, because Brahim Diaz was one of the best players from the tournament. He misses it when they come back 15, 20 minutes later. He chips it. It's called Panenka. You normally gamble on the goalkeeper diving one way or another. There's nothing wrong with it. Unfortunately for him, Mendy just stood there, he collected the ball, and then in extra time, the beautiful move happens where Pape Gueye scores outside the box, and he wins the African Cup of Nations for Senegal, and they win it for the second time in the last 4 years.
In less than a minute, then, Nkululeko, what makes Senegal worthy winners? Just track their whole journey for us as precisely as you can.
They are one of the greatest football teams on the African continent for the past 20 years. They've been trying and failing to win the African Cup of Nations to a point where they were almost a joke. They have a very good generation of players who play top flight European football. Some of them have now moved to the Saudi Arabian League, to the Pro League, and those players are very strong, and they have a very good team spirit. They have former players, a former striker who was their coach previously. They had another former player, a former defender or a former midfielder was their coach. And those two black coaches who used to play for them won the African Cup of Nations for them.
All right, thank you for that. Nkululeko Nkewu, co-founder of Itiski Media. As a Chelsea supporter, I don't understand how we let Edward Mendy slip through our fingers. Anyway, asikho lapho. 8 a.m. Let's go to N Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, schooling to resume in parts of Mpumalanga and Northern Cape Hospital tender fraud case back in court. Good morning. Teaching and learning is expected to resume in most areas that have been affected by heavy rains in Mpumalanga. Last week, the Provincial Education Department suspended schooling in the Bushbuck Ridge local municipality after several roads were impassable and many villages were waterlogged. Education spokesperson in the province, Gerald Sambo, has urged learners and staff members to remain vigilant and avoid crossing overflowing rivers. The flood-related death toll in Mpumalanga and Limpopo currently stands at 37. In Mpumalanga, 20 people have died while 17 died in Limpopo. Incidents of drowning continue to emerge from Palaborwa, Giyani and Toyando areas of Limpopo. Heavy rains have battered various parts of the provinces, damaging homes, roads and bridges. Limpopo Disaster Management Centre spokesperson Tsakani Baloy says the province has ever welcomed the classification of a national disaster in flood-stricken provinces.
MEC Biskop Makamo has expressed his sadness on the rising of the number of fatalities since the beginning of the severe weather condition that has mainly affected Mopani, Vembe, Waterberg and some parts of Sekhukhune districts in Limpopo province. The MEC has sent deepest condolences to the families of 17 people who perished in this severe weather and the affected communities.
The Cape Winelands District Municipality's fire services say crews are continuing with active firefighting in Franschhoek. The fire broke out on Saturday. Spokesperson Aneska Rood says teams have made good progress, but 2 active fire lines remain.
6 firefighting vehicles with crews supported by ground teams from Cape Nature worked the active fire lines throughout the night. Cooler evening temperatures assisted firefighting efforts. There has been no damage to or loss of property and no injuries have been reported. Fresh teams will be deployed this morning to continue firefighting operations.
The case against 9 accused linked to the 51 million rand Northern Cape Mental Hospital tender will be back in the Kimberley Magistrates Court today. The matter was postponed last year due to one of the accused not making it to court due to ill health. They face charges of fraud, corruption, money laundering, contravention of the Engineering Professions Act and contravention of the Public Finance Management Act. The accused include former MEC of Transport and Public Works John Block. Tebogo Msimanga reports.
Block and his 8 co-accused are facing alleged fraud, corruption and money laundering charges related to the construction of the Kimberley Mental Hospital that cost 2 billion rand. A tender of 51 million rand was allegedly unlawfully awarded to the accused in 2003. Amongst the accused person is an 89-year-old pensioner Edward Petzer who resides in Cape Town. He failed to appear physically in court due to many ailments. All the accused persons are currently out on bail.
And finally, aid agency Oxfam says the increased wealth of the richest people on the planet is deepening economic and political divides. As the world's political and business elite gather in the Swiss resort of Davos for the World Economic Forum, Oxfam says the fortunes of global billionaires jumped 16% in 2025. Amita Behar is the organization's executive director.
This is a year where you see the billionaires actually reach $18.3 trillion of wealth. And just last year, they have added $2.5 trillion to their kitty. And that amount is enough to eradicate poverty 26 times over.
Recapping the top story, teaching and learning is expected to resume in parts of Mpumalanga following disruptions caused by severe flooding. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
With Outsurance, I'm saving a whole 729 Rand.
Another satisfied Outsurance client saving more money every month. 32-year-old Perushka saves 729 Rand a month on her 2020 Haval H2. And after 3 claim-free years, she gets an out bonus.
Yes, I'm ready for that out bonus.
How much money could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
A very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. It's cricket action. Sunrisers Eastern Cape surge back to the top of the SA20 standings. And in soccer, Senegal claim a dramatic AFCON title win. We'll have all the details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. It stays very heavy if you're on that run from Protea Glens on Asia side up to Joburg. Big traffic. N12, Deadman's Bend, N1, Dipcliff, Uncle Charlie's. Do try and avoid that run through. Pretoria East is heavy this morning. Lots of traffic lights down across Solomon, Mshlanga, Linwood, Atterbury and the Haasfontein Road option as well. Really busy. Durban, the M13, Hillcrest down the hill at Field Hill into Pinetown stays bad. A lot of traffic between Durban and Mshlanga, whether you're on the N2, Mshlanga Rocks Drive or the M4. Those 3 big routes are fully loaded. M7, Queensborough down towards the N2, really battling along as well. And then Cape Town, no traffic lights. Coburg Road at Section Street in Pardon Island. The Coburg Road inbound to the N1 is super bad. Backlogs to Brooklyn Rugby side. And the N7, Jake Sherville, a crash at the N1 highway. Big traffic out of Goodwood on your way towards the Bosman Star exit. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
7 minutes after 8. Welcome to the third hour of the Morning Brief. What's that thing? They call it what? Blue Monday. What is that? We don't know that here on the Morning Brief. Bright and early here to give you updates on all the news and current affairs developments that are shaping your world here at home, on the continent and around the world. But also infusing it all with a good dose of your own perspectives on all of those developments. Speaking of that then, let me start where I always start in this hour, reading a few of your messages that have come through on the WhatsApp line. A few of them have to do with the win by Senegal in the AFCON final. So for example here, someone here says, congratulations to Senegal. I'm happy for them, but I couldn't watch it because of electricity cut off here in Van Stadensrus in the Free State. Sorry for that, yeah? That makes 2 of us because I couldn't watch it for a different reason. At least I had a choice, but you didn't because of the electricity situation. Sadio Mane, what a leader, what a sport. He should be honored by his country, CAF and his club, says Nkosenye, responding there to the leadership shown by Sadio Mane, especially during that period. And I was reading it up because I didn't watch. I had to sleep so that I could be here bright and early. But from what I was reading up, he really displayed a good leadership when things seemed to be breaking down altogether. Someone else here says, Senegal was an embarrassment. What a pathetic attitude. That is not signed. Then let me read 1 or 2. The one that has to do with the military exercises that were taking place, Exercise Will for Peace 2026, and the controversy now around the participation of Iran, despite the president instructing that they should not take part. Someone here says, military exercises take years to plan and they don't get cancelled so easily as people would want, says that person there. And then let me read this one about the classification of a national disaster, and it's from Simelane in Pretoria, who says, while the classification of national disaster makes sense, my view is that the broader classification, including the 3 provinces less impacted, is an opportunity for wide-scale corruption. Corruption Watch, Auditor General, and Kathy's Municipal Watch, Kathy Mutlatlana's Municipal Watch, will be very busy soon. I'm hoping I'm wrong, says Simelane in Pretoria. Lastly, let me read this one that has to do with the decision by Minister Gayton McKenzie regarding South Africa's participation at the Venice Biennale. This person says, Ajub Ravat says, Gayton is sponsored by Israel. That's why he is doing it. And so, and on it goes, the conversation. Let's keep it going. The number to dial, 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Or your WhatsApp voice notes and messages to 0614 104 107. And in fact, in the next few minutes, I'll take some of your calls and WhatsApp voice notes.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. Easy to apply, no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Babila Noko want to rubber stamp that kumnandi in the top half, while Ezimnyama Ngenkani are highly spirited to make this their season to shine. This is the Betway Premiership. Nisekazini forever. Catch Skukune United versus Orlando Pirates on Saturday, 24 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let me go straight to the calls. Lefuko in the Northwest. You know how it goes, my brother. I can't help myself. You know how I'm going to hit you. What's the word, brother?
The word is congratulations to Mackenzie. Mackenzie is not sponsored by Israel. He's sponsored by the love he has for South Africans in South Africa by putting our interests first and not the ANC policies. He read the room, just like for the first time Ramaphosa read the room and said Iran mustn't participate. There's no hoo-ha about it. Thulas, I always tell you about the referendum, and I heard people complain.
Yes.
Thulas, if you look at what the ANC did before the elections of 2024, they rammed through their policies, NHI, land what, the ICJ. And actually, we as the people, before they did that before the elections, we came out and we gave them what? Less than 40%. Right? That is us talking to them. So why don't they relook stuff that failed? They tried to push NHI. People said, no, you guys, we don't want you, we don't want your policies. Right? So Mackenzie is 100% right. And why is there no hullabaloo about the president basically taking the same steps as Mackenzie? But obviously he was overruled. So I'm happy for Mackenzie putting us first.
Let me challenge you, Lefuko. Are you not at all a bit uncomfortable about the idea of a minister of sports, arts and culture sort of censoring the content of the artwork? Does that not make you a bit uncomfortable? Just that leeway for expression, which has been characteristic of our artistic world. I get, and especially when the allegation is that censorship is based on his views on the situation in Gaza. His and his party's views on the situation in Gaza and Israel and how they hold Israel in high regard. Are we not on a slippery slope when on the basis of a minister's views, he can take what is essentially an executive decision that has implications for artistic creativity and freedoms?
I think, Thulas, I am with you 100%. The only problem here with the artistic whatever is that you are not representing yourself. You are representing the country. You know, if this person was going there by herself and the name is displayed there, this is my art, whatever, that's fine. But once you step into representing South Africa, us, the voters, the people that pay tax, etc., then the buck stops there.
All right.
We need someone to come in. You do it with your own name. Don't do it with us.
Gotcha. Lefuko, thank you for that. That's Lefuko in the Northwest. Let me move on to Lebohang in Durban. Good morning to you, Lebohang. The AFCON is on your mind this morning, yeah?
Morning, Thulas. Hey, what a disappointing win by Senegal.
You are disappointed.
Yeah, I was disappointed, Thulas. Especially the game started well. It was going well, but after what Senegal did, I think they just killed the spirit of football.
What, the walk-off?
Yeah, the walk-off. It was, remember that leaving the field while the game is still in play, it's also a foul.
Yeah.
That is unacceptable in football. So what they did, it is unacceptable, and I completely disagree with Nkululeko.
Yes.
Yeah, when he say whatever that he says.
Yeah.
I think with what they did, they just killed the spirit of football.
Let's see if there will be any consequences that will follow despite their win, right? In terms of just whether or not they will face any further disciplinary action. Lebohang, thank you for that. Let me go to Peggy in Mbombela. Good morning to you, Peggy. Same topic, AFCON.
A very good morning to you, Thulas. We have to congratulate Senegal for their win. However, we're very much disappointed with their behavior. How dissatisfied you are in a field of play with regards to a decision of the referee. You don't boycott and you don't leave the field of play. I think the referee panel or the officiation panel has been very lenient. And even Morocco themselves, to prevent any halabaloo or coup d'etat, the penalty taker was informed not to score that particular penalty. Remember, there's still a lot at stake for Morocco.
You think so? You think that Panenka was not coincidental, was not an accident, wasn't a miss?
No.
It was orchestrated.
That was not a way one would take a penalty, and knowing the magnitude of that particular player and the body language. You will see when a player has missed a penalty, there will be some reaction and to show that. But after missing that penalty, it was just game as usual, because they knew that they still have to host the FIFA World Cup, the coming FIFA World Cup. For them, it was a bigger picture than what we have seen.
All right.
But over and above that, I want to applaud the Moroccan players and the fans, especially not to, act otherwise, but to remain calm. But a win is taken as a win. But this is a lesson that African has learned, that you don't take your law in your own hands. And I believe that CAF is going to take actions against Senegal. Thank you.
All right, Peggy, thank you for that. That's Peggy in Bombela. As Peggy was talking, actually, I see a message here that I think I should read that holds a different line. Someone says, this is Lindiwe, who says, Moroccan fans have the most unsporting behavior in Africa. They whistled and mocked Egypt shamelessly in the game against Nigeria. I'm very... happy, I suppose, is the word that's missing there. Lindiwe says, I'm very happy Morocco lost to Senegal, says Lindiwe there. Let me play one or two voice notes also reflecting on that game, the officiating at the AFCON, especially in the final.
Morning, Thulasizwe Simelane. It's Monty here in Pinetown. I'm not a soccer fan. In fact, I didn't even know there was a game playing yesterday. But then, just judging from what you guys are saying, I'm listening to all these comments. Why aren't you guys asking about the referee and his decisions that he was making? Because now I know they've got VAR, and I thought VAR was coming to help making decisions being better, but now it seems like we're still in the same boat. So what's going on with refereeing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a theme, hey? The theme of refereeing at this AFCON has really been a big conversation.
Hi, Tulas. Hi, SAFM listeners. Yeah, regarding the AFCON, it was disappointing what happened, and I speak under correction, but a lot of people seem to be focusing on what happened to the Senegalese team and them walking off and whatnot. But no one is talking about the Moroccan team's conduct. When they played Nigeria in the semi-finals, they were dark arts, taking towels and whatnot, and they did it with the Senegalese team as well. No one is talking about how the Moroccan team behaved ungainly and unsportsmanly. Deji Cape Town, thank you.
Good morning, Tulas and the team. Good show as always, Tulas. I would like to congratulate Senegal for lifting the AFCON trophy last night. But Tulas, the tournament was marred by a poor refereeing decision, Tulas. That is bad for African soccer, Tulas. And for the scene that we saw last night, Tulas, it was uncalled for Senegal to boycott the match for 20 minutes. But justice was restored when Mendy saved that dubious penalty. That's my opinion, Tulas. PK here. Thank you.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
What if your child could achieve better academic results in 2026? At Teneo School, they can. Our smart school system tracks every learner in real time and helps teachers spot gaps early. The results? With over 3,500 successful Teneo School matriculants, learners improve their average marks by 12% in the first year. Access affordable private schooling, no restrictive entry, fees starting from 3,000 Rand per month. Enroll now for 2026 at teneoschool.co.za. That's TENEO school.co.za.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
It's 22 minutes after 8. In fact, it's coming up to 23 minutes after 8. As schools reopen across the country, attention is turning to how our education system can better serve every child. Inclusive education is a theme that comes to the fore within that conversation, where learners with special needs and mainstream learners are taught together. And we are told that inclusive education has the potential to shape a more equal, compassionate and skilled society if implemented effectively. So let's hear all about it from Director of iCollege Eco School, Asima Ali, who joins me now to take that conversation forward. Good morning to you, Asima, and thank you for your time. What is inclusive education within the context of special needs, in education?
Good morning, Tulas. How are you?
Very well.
Okay,
sorry about it. Yeah, please go ahead.
No problem. Okay, so inclusive education has been an ideology brought up now into the schooling system, whereby instead of boxing learners into special needs or labels like ADHD or ADD, dyslexia, we start looking at how the education system can include them into mainstream. Identify the problem areas, identify how we can remediate and support the learners and bring them into the mainstream schools.
And is it something that is easy to do, or is it one of those where people will say it's easier said than done, given the amount of focused attention that some pupils may need?
So I think that it's not as easy to do, especially because of the greater numbers that we have in classes, especially with your government schools. And private schools might be easier where the numbers are smaller. But I think if we go back to education, the general number in a class was about 20 in a class, 25 in a class maximum. And from my experience, I see that even if you have 10 learners in a class, not everyone learns in the same way. And I think that with training in education, we know that some learners are learning through audiovisual methods, some are tactile, some can learn in abstract forms and some can't. So I personally find that even in a small group of learners, you have at least 4 different types of learners, and the teacher needs to adapt the teaching style according to that. So we would need much less special schools if people were, or teachers were trained how to group their learners and how to teach them using different means and different methods. So, for example, what we do at iCollege is we identify those learners, we keep our numbers small, and then we include support classes for them during the course of the day so that we work exactly where their concentration lies and adapt it to the curriculum.
Tell me about the social benefits of it when done and implemented effectively. What does it inculcate among the pupils, their understandings of diversity and difference?
I think that's an excellent question because in most cases, especially when you speak of autism or you speak of Down syndrome or, children who suffer from epilepsy, they tend to be ostracized. People look at them strangely and they're not always included on a social level. And that's, for me, the most important part of, a human being's needs. Being accepted socially and also being independent eventually to be able to earn a living. So I think this is the place that inclusive learning actually stands. It gives you perspective, it gives you direction, because these learners get to be integrated into the mainstream with everybody else. At the same time, learners that are not having much barriers to learning can also learn about the type of learners that are struggling and what type of struggles they have. For me, it brings on a sense of acceptance,
Other ways, though, to counter some of the ills that we invariably know do occur in schooling contexts. One hopes that, this inculcates empathy, patience and problem-solving skills among the pupils, but you and I know that bullying is also part of the reality in schools. Are the methods and what's the best thinking about in inclusive education countering those ills?
Okay, for me, I would say step one is education, to educate all learners about the types of barriers to learning that exist, and then also to have the learners accept their own barriers to learning. Once you have a sense of self-acceptance, we can start working on confidence. Once a child is confident and happy, for me, it is absolutely vital that a child is happy. And that can only be achieved with confidence and acceptance. So by doing this, educating the rest of the groups, on the larger scale, we bring in empathy. And we also bring in leadership. So with leadership, we have those that would take the weaker learners under their wing and help them and, just coach them until they can be independent on their own. And that usually works very well. So bullying is an issue, definitely bullying is an issue, but the bully also needs help usually because the bully is not the confident learner. It's actually a very insecure learner.
All right.
When you have, your confident learners would never be the bullies. So actually bullies need help just as much.
All right. Asima, thank you for sharing those insights and perspectives. Asima Ali is director of iCollege Eco School.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning. Let's start with cricket action, and we bring you Quinton de Kock and Matthew Brieske. They struck half centuries to guide the Sunrisers Eastern Cape to a 7-wicket win over MI Cape Town in Gqeberha. De Kock made 56, Brieske 66 as the host chased down 149 with a ball to spare. Now that means a top 2 finish for the Sunrisers and eliminates the defending champions from the SA20 playoff contention. More cricket. South Africa's under-19 women have clinched the Youth T20 Tri-Series title with a thrilling 5-wicket win over the Cricket South Africa Youth 11, and that all happened in Cape Town. Let's go to soccer with the Senegal captain Kalidou Koulibaly reflecting on the most dramatic moment of the AFCON final when the Teranga Lions briefly walked off the pitch following a late VAR decision against the host Morocco. Speaking after Senegal's extra time 1-0 victory, Koulibaly admits it wasn't easy.
It's difficult, because it's like it's a mental game. It's a mental game. You have to do everything to win. Everybody wanted to win. We show a lot of character, and we can be happy tonight because we are champion of Africa.
In the meantime, the CAF president Patrice Motsepe has pushed back against criticism around the scrapping of the African Nations Championship. Motsepe insists the decision was not taken in isolation.
We also have to stop the nonsense of trying to say, people are enemies or people are people who, we've got problems with. I've succeeded in life because even my greatest enemies at times have managed to turn them around. So Europe is not, Europe or North America or South America, they're not our enemies. There are times when we disagree and there are times when we work together for their success and for our success. So I'm clear in my mind. We're going to have the best mutually beneficial relationship with North America, with South America, with Europe, with Asia, with India, with China, with the rest of the world.
And finally, tennis early shocks at the Australian Open with the seeds Ekaterina Alexandrova and Marta Kostyuk both exiting in the first round. Elena Svitolina advanced while Francesco Cerundolo reached round 2 in the men's draw. That's your sport. We'll serve it up with John Hedeker around 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the search for a bakkie that was swept away while attempting to cross an overflowing bridge in Tswinga village outside Thohoyandou continues this morning, while teaching and learning is expected to resume in most areas that have been affected by heavy rains in Mpumalanga. And the Department of Higher Education has emphasized that a bachelor's pass in matric does not automatically guarantee a university spot and encourages prospective students to explore multiple options within the post-school education and training system. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Still very heavy at this hour around Pretoria East. It's the traffic lights down because of the substation failure of Upard Rand substation this morning. Of particular note is Solomon Mshlangu on that section between Garsfond, or on the section between Atterbury and Linwood Road. Very heavy traffic as you hit multiple lights that are down. Crash going in and out of Pretoria, N14 at Eufys, northbound, very heavy. Getting up from Centurion, southbound coming out of Pretoria, there are delays there as well. Also, collision on the M1 north just past the Malabongwe Drive. Traffic coming through from Bayers Nordia is heavy. Malabongwe in from Sharon Lee to get into that highway is bad. And that N1 north, the breakdown at Deepcliff, still having an impact, a major impact on the M1 north from Eldorado Park this morning up through towards Uncle Charlie's. Durban's M13 stays busy on that run through Kloof down Field Hill. It is starting to ease, but still a lot of traffic for this time of day. M7 from Queensborough down towards the N2 highway if you're bluff bound. That's a really big backlog as well. And Cape Town, a crash on the N7 northbound at the N1. Traffic all the way back to 4 Trekker Road in the Goodwood area and looking particularly heavy. And there's no lights on the Kuberg Road at Section Road. So there's a real big backlog of traffic coming out of Rugby into that Brooklyn area this morning towards the N1 highway. That is super heavy. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Dowling, good morning to you. What time is your flight to Davos cluster?
Oh, I wish. Oh, how I wish.
Have you done your shopping for your mittens and your scarves and your gloves? And do you have one of those South Africa flag scarves, which seem to be mandatory if you're going to go to Davos?
I think my invite got lost in the mail,
Somewhere,
so
hey?
I will forgive them this time around.
Yeah, all right. That's all good. But nevertheless, you continue to pay attention to what's coming out of Davos and South Africa taking its reform story there.
Mm-hmm. The who's who of global business, Thulas, are gathered in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum. Basically, the Met Gala for world leaders. Now, the forum brings together politicians, investors, and business executives at a time of heightened global uncertainty, marked by geopolitical tensions, trade disputes, and slowing growth in major economies. Now, SA, of course, in attendance, led by Finance Minister Enoch Gorongwana, and Team SA has the task of selling the country's improving economic story. National Treasury said South Africa will use the platform to highlight rising investor confidence, supported by recent gains such as a more stable electricity supply, an upgrade to the country's credit rating by S&P Global, as well as the removal from the Financial Action Task Force's grey list. Now, the delegation includes ministers overseeing trade, energy, transport, tourism, and small business, and discussions will focus on progress in economic reforms and positioning the country as a competitive investment destination. We'll be, watching out for those headlines and stories that come through over the week.
In the construction sector, Ndauling, this name of this company confuses me and trips me up. Is it Avenge or is it Aveng?
Avenge.
Yes. All right. Talk to me about their CEO exiting after just 2 years.
Yeah. So the group CEO and director Scott Cummings will retire and step down from his role at the end of the month. Avenge has appointed David Simpson as interim CEO and a director, while the board, supported by external advisors, begins the search for a permanent successor. Cummins became Group CEO in 2024 after succeeding Sean Flanagan, having previously led Avenge's largest subsidiary, McConnell Dowell, since 2015. Looking at the new appointee, Avenge describes Simpson as an experienced executive with legal, commercial, and management expertise across engineering, infrastructure, resources, and industrial services. Despite this, the market reacted negatively, with Avenge shares falling 5.8% on Friday. Momentum Securities analyst Odwa Makwenchu said investors appear uneasy about Cummings' departure after just 2 years in the role, highlighting broader concerns around leadership instability.
All right, lastly, the markets. Wrap up everything you've told us and give us a sense of where we're going for the rest of the day.
The JSE likely to start mixed today as investors grapple with the new tariff threats. In domestic news, traders will be looking out for inflation as well as mining, production, and retail sales figures, all out later this week. Ahead of that, the rand slightly on the back foot this morning. It's sitting at 16.41 to the greenback. And then moving to commodities, oil back in the red, marginally so, at $62.50 a barrel. Back to equities, traders remain concerned about Trump's tariffs while eyeing more earnings. Futures, US futures that is, are in the red. Lastly, in Asia, stocks mostly in negative territory, and this despite that Chinese GDP print that confirmed that Beijing's growth is at the government's level of 5%.
You know that thing you were saying about your invite to Davos, that it's lost in the mail? There is actually a message for you that came through earlier on, but despite my best and diligent efforts, I simply can't locate it.
Did you forget?
No, I'm looking all over on the WhatsApp line. I know that it had to do with you incorporating other currencies in your reports. Okay. Your pound, and I think it talked about the euro, etc.
The euro.
I don't know about the practicalities of doing that within your report, but I wanted to read it to you. But yeah, it's lost in the mail.
Don't worry, I'll do that. You know.
You'll figure out a way. All right, thank you for that. That's Ndauling Lechela. She's kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T&Cs online. Standard rates apply.
Babilanuko want to rubber stamp that kumnandi in the top half, while Ezimnyama Ngenkani are highly spirited to make this their season to shine. This is the Betway Premiership. Nisekazini forever. Catch Skukune United versus Orlando Pirates on Saturday, 24 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
All right, 19 minutes to 9. Foot and mouth disease is once again under the spotlight, with the Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen moving to have the outbreak declared a national disaster as infections continue to spread across key livestock regions. Steenhuisen says the declaration would unlock emergency powers and resources while forming part of a longer-term plan to eliminate the disease and restore South Africa's animal health status in the years ahead. Farming bodies have warned that without swift coordinated intervention, the crisis could deepen, threatening food security, rural jobs and export markets. In fact, here in Gauteng, heightened controls, farm quarantines and disrupted livestock movements are already being felt. Let's speak to the MEC of Agriculture and Rural Development in Gauteng, Vuyiswa Ramokgopa. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. The last time we really focused on Gauteng as part of the footprint of the foot and mouth disease situation was around October last year when there was that outbreak at the Heidelberg feedlot of current beef. But the situation has actually been developing and evolving over time. Where do we stand in terms of the spread of the disease in the province?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to all the listeners. You're correct in saying that when we spoke in October, there was an outbreak which at that point was being reported as largely located around the Heidelberg area. We have seen an escalation in cases that are reported around the province. I mean, just to give you context, when I received a briefing from the State Veterinary Department early November, we were sitting at about 102 cases. As of end of January, that had escalated to 132 cases. And most recently, in the recent report that I've received, we are now sitting at 193 reported cases of FMD around the province. There are some that have been closed, as in they have received the necessary interventions and are no longer infectious farms. But there is still a very steep hill to climb, and there's a lot that has yet to be done insofar as ensuring that we roll out mass vaccinations, but also prevent the spread, an unnecessary spread of the disease.
What's causing the escalation, MEC, as opposed to the disease being on the retreat?
Well, look, there's really a number of things. I mean, number one, without being able to roll out a mass vaccination campaign, you are constantly going to be seeing these outbreaks in different areas everywhere, and so that's one. But I think in particular in Gauteng, you'll note Gauteng is of course the commercial and economic capital of the country, and as such we are quite exposed to the movement of livestock in and out of the province. Some of the major sites of infection are your auction sites and abattoirs, places where livestock is traded. There is also a challenge where people are not reporting or underreporting for fear of being quarantined or for fear of not being able to sell their livestock after their livestock is vaccinated. So we really are now rolling out quite an information campaign within the farming community. You know, even if your livestock has been vaccinated, that shouldn't deter or limit your ability to sell your stock. And we're promoting that and we're supporting that. Secondly, we are of course asking for compliance from the farming community. When the state vets become aware of such cases or such outbreaks, you know, they still need permission to enter somebody's farm to verify or to administer treatment, and that's not always the case.
How difficult is that to ensure the compliance and also just ensuring that there's this mass vaccination that you're talking about, given that a big part of Gauteng is urban and a lot of the farming that happens as well as the livestock keeping that happens is somewhat unorthodox as opposed to out and out farming areas where there's open tracts of land. In Gauteng, you'll have a township and then you'll be seeing these cows roaming the street and they graze somewhere in some open space. And I don't know if that brings a particular angle to the mass vaccination, to the reporting and the movement of cattle, being able to control the movement of cattle.
Absolutely. And it does present quite a particular challenge because on-farm biosecurity is one of the ways in which we curb the spread of FMD, either through the movement of animals or, as I'm saying, people coming in and out of farms and spreading the disease. But when animals are roaming freely and are not contained, it is, of course, virtually impossible to implement such biosecurity measures. So with that said, one of the things that our state veterinarians have done and continue to do is actually to go into many of these communities, many of these townships. You know, while you and I may see animals roaming freely, you will find when you're actually in a community that people know exactly whose cattle they are, and they know exactly kind of where they come from, and they have spent quite a lot of time on the ground educating farmers in communal open lands or in township areas who have actually been quite compliant, albeit it is difficult because they require grazing land and they need to be able to move their cattle and trade their cattle. So we've taken a multi-pronged approach. We are dealing and engaging with commercial farmers through quarantine methods, as well as doing heightened on-farm biosecurity methods, but then as well engaging with farmers who are farming in communal lands to drive vaccination in those areas.
Lastly, MEC, your political opponents and critics are not impressed with your response as a provincial department. In fact, they say it's been lackluster. Taking that and also taking the realities of the resources that you are allocated, I know that you're not one of the big, budget line item, department line items in Gauteng, given the nature and complexity of the province itself. What would you say to that? For instance, this redirecting of 16 million rand to strengthen surveillance, containment and biosecurity, is it anywhere near enough?
Well, I think it's important to note that the coordination and the response to FMD is being driven largely actually by the National Department of Agriculture through, of course, Minister Steenhuisen's office. And you mentioned in your opening, he did give a briefing to this effect last week. We are but one of many provinces that are trying to work in coordination with the national approach and strategy, which, as you said, looks at a number of different measures to be able to address this disease in different ways. However, as the province, we have also taken additional steps wherein we have procured through the reallocation of budget that would have ordinarily been used for farmer support programs, our standard farmer support programs. We have reallocated in the region of 16 million rand to procure an additional 90,000 doses of vaccines. We have also deployed resources in terms of our state vets and additional resources to the ground to be able to roll out this campaign. further to that, and I think this is a critical point, there has to be involvement from law enforcement in all of this. And one of the things that we really are striving to do is to engage law enforcement officials in assisting us with enforcing the actual Animal Diseases Act and ensuring that we are not seeing animals moving in and out of the province that have either no certifications or could be stolen or otherwise. And it really requires a coordinated approach. And what I'll say is that this is not the time for finger pointing and politicking. This is actually a time where we need to come together as an industry, come together as leaders in the political sphere, and really come with a coordinated and unified approach to this problem.
MEC, let's leave it there for this morning. MEC for Agriculture and Rural Development in the province of Gauteng, Vuyiswa Ramokgopa.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Pretoria is N14, just south of Eupheus Road. If you're going into Pretoria from Centurion or leaving Capital City on your way down to Centurion, the N14 backing up both ways. Collision on Joburg Z1 just past Malabongwe Drive. Traffic all the way back to Bayers Nordia. Malabongwe Drive trying to get into the highway coming through from Northwold Sharonley is quite heavy, and still major delays on the M1 North into Deepcliff for a turn out to Uncle Charlie's due to that broken down vehicle that's been there all morning. Protesting continues just south of Pitt Retief in the Mpumalanga area. So if you're on the N2 Pitt Retief through to Pongola, it's sort of in around where the roadworks are. So you've got a combination of the roadwork stop-go control delays and some protest-related delays. It is quite a heavy mess. You want to try and avoid getting into that area just south of Pitt Retief until this situation has been resolved and traffic is moving on. Durban easing up nicely. The M7 is the standout though. Queensborough down towards the N2 highway and your way to the Bluff very slow. And Cape Town, an earlier crash this morning on the N7 north at the M1 highway. That's why it's still very busy coming up from Goodwood. No traffic lights. Coburg Road at Section Street. If you've done that on a daily basis, you know how bad it is and how dreadful it is without traffic light control. And then the N2 inbound looking pretty sluggish this morning from Langa. Traffic all the way through to Hospital Bend. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Get Barter school shoes at Spar for 75 Rand when you spend 350 Rand or more and swipe your rewards card. Buy 2-litre Spar Extra Shelf Life Milk, full cream or low fat for $29.99 plus 50 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or Kellogg's Cocoa Pops, Fruit Loops or Vanilla Rice Krispies for $44.99 plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Price is valid 5 till 19 January 2026 while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
You won't believe how much money Outsurance saves 40-year-old Rafiq on his car insurance.
I saved so much money. 899. That's not small change. It's more than 50% that I saved from my previous insurer.
That's an impressive saving on Rafiq's 2017 Nissan Navara 4x4. And after 3 claim-free years, he gets an out bonus. How much money could Outsurance save you? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer FSP. TCs and information online.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me take a call from Chris in Pietermaritzburg. Good morning to you, Chris. Something that we've not focused on this morning, but it exercises your mind, the education system.
Good morning, Thulas. It's an honor to talk to you. I know you're a very brilliant broadcaster, and
I appreciate that.
Respect and admire you for your no bias you show, and that's very good.
That's highly appreciated.
You're welcome. Thank you. Listeners, I just want to bring this to your attention that it's a very serious situation in our country because our education system, everything is flawed, unfortunately. But if the minister, hopefully someone in the minister's office is listening to us, is that they should, impress on the little children even from creche and to preschool, that we need certain principles in life, like respecting your parents, obeying the law, and respecting our government, the present government, not to go toy and strike. When we start at a young age, in our city, Pietermaritzburg, we have amongst the worst litter scenarios in the country, maybe even in the world. We have filth everywhere. We clean our streets, and even I clean my passageway every day, but you still find that the people have no regard to cleanliness, and they expect the municipality to come and pick up. This is so wrong.
Sure.
Now, we impress on our children from a young age that cleanliness and looking after your environment is of extreme. It's actually respecting yourself when you do this, and as the educators can impress on the children and install in them, like that they should from a young age instill these values of cleanliness, of respect to your elders, respecting the law.
Gotcha.
Our country, it won't take the overnight, but it will take time. If the minister, institutes programs, even I wouldn't say laws, but make it compulsory that children learn these values. It's so important.
Chris,
and one important factor I want to say is when during apartheid they brought this thing about the color issue of black and white. So to us, you're not black. I'm Indian. I'm not black. I'm brown. But people use it so commonly. That white person, that black person. To us, that is nonsense. Apartheid instigated this issue of black and white. We should call you either a South African or an Englishman or a Zulu person.
Gotcha.
This black and white nonsense.
Chris,
you can all stop that.
Respectfully, I am black and I'm proud, and I embrace everything that it comes with and the content of that, but also being proudly South African as well, embracing our diversity completely. But I'm very proud of the mere fact of being black and the content and the history, how laden it is.
Black, you brown.
Gotcha. All right, Chris, let's agree to disagree. Thank you for your call, though, and I appreciate what you were saying about the values system in our country. Spamandla, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mamakut. I hope everything is well, sir.
All is well, Baba. Please go ahead. You want to talk about water shortages?
Yes, I mentioned the other day that in Gqeberha there was 106,000 megaliters left in our Impofu Dam, which is like 26% less. So like 74% of water is lost to NPE. So what we did on Saturday, we've been running a program about training people how to save water naturally in the soil. So Saturday we had a beautiful one. We had close to about 45 people that came out for training.
Mm-hmm.
We even had some people coming from in America, from Michigan, who were willing to sign up and like register the public benefit organization with ours. And it was very successful. I'm grateful to people who listened and came to join us at the tramways building across the road. And even people from NMU, Mrs. Erna Seneca, Mamo Erna Seneca joined us. She's at the NMU Post-School and Education Training Center. So we had some good people coming out to support, and they're with this effort of saving water and getting people empowered to take part in the environment sustainably. So thank you very much to SFM and its listeners. I appreciate the work. And the
Before you go, can you and I agree that you will not let 2 weeks pass without you calling our show? Because your calls uplift me. Your whole approach to community activism is really, in a sea of negativity. You show us those islands of conscientious citizenship, active citizenry. And I appreciate that sometimes you don't want to talk about that, but please make sure that you don't let 2 weeks pass without you coming back to just infuse a bit of that.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate the platform, sir. You, Miss Kathy, Oliver, even John Kharika, give me a chance to speak with you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your work.
Thank you. That's Pamandla in Gqeberha. Let me go to the calls now. A lot of people wanting to react to the final last night. I see calls about messages about the MK party, as well as our conversation earlier with Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa.
Hi, SAFM. This is Flavian. I think the soccer match yesterday, the reaction from Senegal was due to the fact that the VAR will have done the same for them on a goal that they score, and they claim that there was a push, but they didn't. The same thing happened, and then VAR is quick to respond. I think it's a VAR.
Good morning, Thulas. Anonymous here. I think that the MKP party, including Jacob Zuma, Makazela Mzobe, Jimmy Manyi, today they are crying because Morocco lost. Big up Senegal, the champions of Africa.
I did not see that one coming.
Thank you very much for breaking the hearts of the MK.
I did not see that one coming.
Hi, Thulas morning. It's really disheartening to hear a whole minister of traditional affairs who cannot even pronounce the name of the province. So clearly all these interventions that he's referring to will be directed to Limpopo, not Limpopo.
Yeah, I've got to disagree with you. I think you're a bit harsh there on Minister Velenkosi Nihlabisa. Yes, the suggestion for a correction can be made that the M is not, there are no two M's in the name of the province. But I don't know if it talks to the adequacy of the response we can expect from him. No, I have to disagree with you on that one. Thank you for making the point, but I do not agree that a lot of people mispronounce it, by the way, and say Limpopo instead of saying Limpopo. That doesn't make it right, but there's space for correction without really doubting the adequacy of the response that we can expect. I think let's judge him on the work that will unfold in the coming days. Speaking of that, for example, one of the measures would be he promised that he will be reporting and accounting for the money that was spent in the response to the Eastern Cape flooding of last year. That's where we judge him. That's where we judge him on whether temporary residential units delivered, where those bridges that are much needed in communities delivered in time to allow people to be able to cross and access economic opportunities, schools that are damaged. How far are we? I think that's where we judge people rather than their ability to pronounce a word in English or in any other language. We correct each other without really doubting each other's bona fides based purely on pronunciation. All right, enough about that. Thank you for listening and thank you for your engagement. It's 9 o'clock. Let's go to N. Musa with the latest news, the talking point immediately after that. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed. Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Yeah.
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM.
Music never sleeps, and neither do we.
After several roads were impassable and many villages were waterlogged, Education spokesperson in the province, Gerald Sambo, has urged learners and staff members to remain vigilant and avoid crossing overflowing rivers. The High Court in Pretoria is expected to hear if the police officers who were present when Sfiso Gwabini Zungu alleges he was assaulted will take the stand as the Senzomehiwa murder trial resumes this morning. 5 men are on trial for the 2014 murder of the Bafana Bafana captain. Gwabini, the third defence witness, is said to have hosted a gathering at a hostel in Vosloorus east of Johannesburg, where all the accused were allegedly spotted the day the soccer captain was murdered. The state was in the middle of Gwabini's cross-examination when the defence objected to questions around the witness statement as Gwabini was allegedly assaulted by the police and forced to sign. The presiding judge Rata Mokgotleng said he viewed the assault allegations as serious and advised that the officers who were present when Gwabini was questioned should come to court to explain what transpired.
The councils have closed their case. Even after they've argued, the court can still call a witness at any stage. So the cross-examination of Mr. Gwabini can continue thereafter because he has made or testified to evidence which the court wants to hear from persons who are accused of saying or doing or things.
In other news, the Department of Higher Education has emphasized that a bachelor's pass in matric does not automatically guarantee a university spot and encourages prospective students to explore multiple options within the post-school education and training system. This as universities throughout the country have limited spaces and are inundated with applications for the 2026 academic year. UKZN Professor Labi Ramrathan says people need to take a more progressive and diverse